Hey everybody, sorry for the slightly delayed start, but let's, I'm gonna start off with something I've never really, I don't think I've ever really done anything quite like this before. Some pickups. Well, I guess I gotta explain what's going on with today's stream. I'll be playing the two games I mentioned. Last week I played the arcade versions of Twinbee and Fantasy Zone, and this week, hey Kalaka boy. Oh yeah, I already downloaded this game in preparation for playing it, but when I knew one of my viewers was actually really hyped about this and had a lot of personal history with it, then I was really interested because I'm actually fresh on this Stinger. So Stinger, I'm gonna be playing on the Wii U Virtual Console. I'll be playing it with an actual NES controller because I've got the Nintendo, the NES Classic Edition controller here, which is compatible with the Wii Remote. So this is really the first time I'm going to be getting any use out of my my Nintendo stuff, out of my NES Classic Edition stuff. I'll eventually be playing the actual NES Classic Edition console. But Fantasy Zone, I had on my original 2006 launch day Wii on the Virtual Console for Fantasy Zone on Master System, and so I got like a year ago when I was getting ready to start streaming, I got this little adapter. I believe there's several versions. The one I have is by Ghana. That you plug it into the back of the Wii, then you plug the HDMI cable into the Wii, and then you're supposed to be able to play it fine. What happened was, when I first got this, I plugged it in, turned on the Wii, plugged it into my HD monitor, and the screen came up. Like, the Wii channel menu came up. I'm like, okay, great, the adapter works. So, a little less than a week ago, like a few days ago, I was like, alright, let me get the Wii out, because I never used it for a stream before, let me plug the HDMI adapter, and then let me do my, my audio balancing stuff. And what I realized was the HDMI adapter, it lets me use the Wii menu system. But whenever I play an actual game, the system falls asleep as though I pressed the button on the Wii remote to make it fall asleep. And so I just had no way to play my Wii Virtual Console stuff on and run it through my capture card and through my PC. So I had a problem, and my first solution. Well, and I don't have any other there are no other downloadable versions of Fantasy Zone on the Master System as I'm aware of for modern systems. So what I wanted to do at first was I went online, tried to find a copy of Fantasy Zone on some online website, but I couldn't find a copy of the Fantasy Zone cartridge and depend on it shipping to my house by today. So I went online. This actually leads to my pickups. I went online and I went around asking like, hey, I'm having trouble with my capture with my my Wii. The HDMI adapter doesn't work. It's only working for the menus. And there was some mode I could activate in Virtual Console games that might make it work. And I needed to press like A, the 2 button, and the C button. But the C button is only on the Wii Nunchuck, and I have not used a Nunchuck since maybe 2010. Or no, 2011 is probably the last year I used an actual Nunchuck with the Wii. Because since I've either been playing games that only use the Wii Remote, or or Virtual Console stuff where I'm using the Classic Controller Pro. So, and I'm not sure if I even have any Nunchucks. I think I might have lost one while moving. I only had 2 Nunchucks ever. One got messed up. The other, I think I either left behind at my old house or it was in storage, buried away somewhere. So I'm like, alright, I need to go to a retro game store. The one in my area. The first time I've been to the store since the pandemic. I'm glad they made it. And the only official Nunchuck they had was this pink one. And with the shape of this thing, the pink color, the cord, there's certain, jokes you can make about it. Apparently this is the Princess Peach version. They had Mario character-themed nunchucks, and that aren't especially common, but it's the only official nunchuck they had. I don't even mind the color. So I used that button combination, try to get the Fantasy Zone on Wii to run with my Wii to HDMI adapter, and it ran, but it ran at like a snail's pace. Like it was chugging. Like it was like the most resource-intensive game ever made. So basically, I could not get Fantasy Zone on Wii to work. So what I ended up doing is, if those are familiar, I've been playing, every once in a while I'll play, like my very first stream did this, I'll play the Game Gear or Master System version of Sonic the Hedgehog, and I've also played Sonic the Hedgehog 1 on Genesis, and I played them using my my analog Mega SG here. This is a FPGA aftermarket system made by Analog that plays Master System. It basically plays all pre-32X cartridge games made by Sega as well as Sega CD, if you have a Sega CD add-on for it. Even going back to SG-1000. Now, this is a system, the intention is to play the games off the cartridges, which is what I like to do, and there's third-party firmware, like I use the Ghost Monster firmware, where the Mega SG has a SD card slot used for updating the firmware. Like when the Game Gear adapter came out, I had to upgrade it. I have to upgrade the firmware on the console to play my Game Gear games in that adapter you see on the left. And I could not, but there's someone like this guy Ghost Monster. He's a retro game enthusiast. He made this aftermarket firmware for the Mega SG that if you load this on there, it lets you load. No, that's not a door worm. That is a I can't get it all on screen. That's a Tangle. It's a fidget toy that was on my desk at the time. And actually, Tangle's the coloration of my very first Tangle back in 2003 or 4 inspired the coloration of my personal Doorworm character, who was named Tangle, because it was purple and black. But, so I loaded this custom firmware on there that lets you put ROMs for all the systems it's compatible for on the SD card, and run them as though you were running the ROM on an actual Genesis, as though you had the cartridge. So basically, it's running a ROM file as though it was running off the actual cartridge. So it's not using an emulator. So the only way I could play this game by today was to load this firmware on there. And so I just downloaded the ROM offline. And I do want to add the actual physical cartridge to my collection. So I'm only going to be using solutions like this for extremely rare or expensive games, generally. Or for custom-made hacks, like made by enthusiasts that aren't really available on cartridge unless you buy an expensive, like, replica cartridge. So we'll be playing Fantasy Zone on Master System through a ROM, but I'll be playing it on the Mega SG, so it'll be as though I'm playing it on an actual cartridge. So, our first game... Now, let me just boot up my, my NES, my controller here. Now... So we're going to be playing Stinger. This is the sequel. Yeah, Stinger is basically the sequel to Twinbee in the arcade. It was released on Famicom Disk System as Morero Twinbee Cinnamon Hakaze no Sukue, or Suke, which translates about to Twinbee to the rescue of Dr. Cinnamon. This game takes place in the in the Twinbee lore. This takes place 100 years after the first Twinbee game. The professor from the first game is still in this because the professor was placed in cryogenic sleep for 100 years. Oh, Collectible, you still have your original cartridge. That's awesome. I'm gonna be playing this using the this isn't a left-handed controller. My webcam's inverted. I'm going to be playing this with an actual NES controller. This is the controller from the NES Classic Edition that I just plugged into my Wii Remote. Because the Wii Remotes are compatible with the, I just got to start my, just got to start my chair here, excuse me. Come on. Come on. I'm going to restart the timer because I'm not counting this. This is still housekeeping stuff. I'm just trying to... Okay, I'm gonna probably have to send this chair back for more. Oh, yeah. I guess I'll... Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm gonna remind you of this. I forgot... So when I went to the game store... I know I'm just teasing Collectiboy with all this. When I went to the game shop... I have an Analog Pocket coming, so I want to be doing Game Boy streams with original cartridges. And I did have some Game Boy games I wanted to pick up. First, we've got... this is Game & Watch Gallery 2 for the Game Boy Color. These black cartridges are compatible with Game Boy Color and Game Boy. Then the second pickup was Quest. And you can barely see it even in person, but it says Quest Fantasy Challenge. This is a spin-off of Quest 64 on the Nintendo 64. And I've always been fascinated by this game. I did play the ROM of it on computer years ago. And I was like, how is Quest 64? And then I look at this cartridge, and it looks like some kind of puzzle game. So how would they make a puzzle or arcade game based on Quest 64? So it's kind of question what the heck they were doing with that. And then for Game Boy Color, I got Yu-Gi-Oh! The Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Duel Stories. And this is really, I think, the first Yu-Gi-Oh! Game to come out in North America. This is like summer 2001, right at the start of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Craze in North America. I never played this. I did, but I'm aware of this game just because it was one of the first Yu-Gi-Oh! Games I was really aware of. And then Animorphs for Game Boy Color. A game I was interested in back in the 90s because I was one of those kids who really liked Animorphs. Now this game is kind of famous for its meme status at a lot of marathons like the GDQ events. This game is famous to run. This is basically a Pokemon ripoff. And I wasn't even aware of that back in the day. So I'm like, wait, I liked Animorphs and Pokemon. In fact, I love this crossover fic called Pokemorphs where people are turning into Pokemon instead of animals. So those are cartridge games I'll be playing when I get my Analog Pocket, hopefully next month. But let's restart that timer. Yeah. And yeah, I find it odd that they decided to give this, I only played this for a few moments to get a feel to make sure the audio was balanced, so I really haven't properly played it yet at all. So this is my first go, really. So this was originally released in Japan for the Famicom Disk System. And on the Famicom, you have controllers 1 and 2 built into the system. Like on Famicom, if you're not aware, the controllers are hardwired into the system. And then on the front of the system, there's a port where you can add a third-party controller. Okay, so it looks like... Now, for those who are unfamiliar, this is the only game... And this was released in North America as Stinger. And in Japan, because you could have a third controller on a Famicom without a special adapter or like a cartridge or anything like that, you were able to have 3 players. So in this version, because it was released on NES and things like the Foursquare adapter weren't available yet, they just scrapped the second player option, just made it a 2-player only game. Now it looks like every time I shoot, I'm also dropping bombs, which is interesting. Now, and when I press A, which on an NES controller is the right-facing buttons, when I press A, it shoots up. And when I shoot B, it shoots forward, as well as shooting, it shoots forward and drops bombs at the same time. Now, if you notice down there, it looks like there are churches down there with crosses on top, which is interesting for a North American release, because I think this must have been such an early NES game that Nintendo's localization policies hadn't come into effect. This is really there was an NES version of Fantasy Zone, which theoretically Collectaboy's asking were there any other Q-em-ups released in North America. This was, I think, this is one of the only releases of Twin B in North America at the time. In North America, they renamed this Stinger, as you see. But for localization purposes, it's interesting that there are the crosses on the churches down there. Even, like, when they did the localization for Earthbound, and I think Castlevania, Nintendo of America made them take the crosses off of gravestones and stuff like that. Because they wanted to avoid religious references to try to not offend anybody. But nowadays, if they did something like that, I think people would just be offended that they took the crosses. Like, no one way or another, you're going to offend somebody. Whether you have something in there, if you have it in there, people will be mad that it's in there. If you take it out, people will be mad that it's out. So you really can't win with stuff like that. But this was one of those early games that didn't really have the full NOA standards of practices applied to it. Now, so this is this is the only game in the entire Twinbee series that has side-scrolling levels, because traditionally Twinbee games are vertical scrolling, which is how the arcade game I played last week worked. Yeah, the not many Q-Ups got released in North America. Really, aside from Stinger here, the Fantasy Zone series is one of the only games to have one of the only Q-Ups to really be released in North America. Fantasy Zone did at least get several of its games released on Genesis, Master System, and Game Gear. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that was a power-up. Uh-oh. Okay, it's the boss. And fitting in with the cutesy themes of these games, we have a giant slice of watermelon as a boss. Now, I've seen an overview of the Fantasy Zone and Twinbee series, but I never actually played it. This is the first time these last couple of games. Now, it seems like I don't know what that does. When I die, sometimes like an angel pops out, and I guess, yeah, this is not an easy game, but this is only our first go, right? And that first boss certainly seems a lot fairer than the first boss of the original Twinbee. Yeah, I hit no, just because we're on the first stage anyway, so there wasn't much of an advantage to using a continue there. Yeah, so the lore of this game, it's like 100 years after the first Twinbee. I don't know why they chose to make it 100 years later. They could have just had it take place 10 years later and had basically the same game take place. But the Doctor is placed into cryogenic sleep, and it's now his grandson that's piloting the ship. And I guess the lore is that he's developed some kind of new sweetening agent that the aliens want to steal and use it to transform Earth into cotton candy that they can eat. So as typical with these shoot-'em-ups, very light-hearted stakes here. You know, oh, I didn't realize that was. I see a skull there. I'm gonna assume that's bad. Yeah. And the Doctor does kind of resemble Dr. Light, and also Dr. Wright from the Nintendo versions of the Nintendo versions of SimCity. For some reason I wonder if I'm having weird memories if the Super Nintendo version of SimCity is on the Super Nintendo. I mean, the Super Nintendo Classic Edition. I really don't remember. But at one point, I have some bad habit of imposing memories on NES Classic and Nintendo Classic Edition systems that aren't real. Like, at one point, I convinced myself that Earthbound Beginnings was on the NES Classic Edition, and it's not. It's only on the Wii Virtual Console. Which I do have to go ahead and see if I could buy a few more. I just buy as many Wii U digital stuff as I can while it's still available. Because Sony, they just announced that they're gonna shut down. I don't know when. They shut down a lot of like the PS3 online store and a couple other systems. I think the Vita and possibly the PSP. Even though I thought the PSP had already been shut down years ago. So what I'm left with was, the PS3 was a wildly successful system, and they're already shutting down the store for it. So the fact that Nintendo is still running the online store for the Wii U, it's really only a matter of time before they announce plans to roll that out. Now, Nintendo, when they announced that a store is going to be rolled out, like when they announced that the Wii store was going to be retired, they gave you like a year notice, and it was like a gradual rollout. Like at a certain date, you could no longer add points to it. What I know about the bells so far, what I figured out is... Oh yeah, I forgot I could shoot up. Yeah, the more you bounce them, they eventually turn into other power-ups, and the regular bell just gives you points. and you have to shoot them till they, like, they turn colors, but if you shoot them again, they might transform into lesser items. What have I missed so far about the bells? I forgot I could shoot up. That's a really unusual thing. It is not at all normal for to be able to shoot up in a game like this unless it's an added power-up. Ah, shucks. Alright. Alright. Yeah, it's a lot more... And I see why they added the ability to shoot up. I bet it's added mainly for the sake of the bells. Because at the first... in Twinbee, you were scrolling upwards. And so it's more obvious to, like, shoot the bells and they fall towards the bottom of the screen. Here, when you have this horizontal setup, it's harder to keep shooting the bells up when you can only shoot forward. So I guess that's why they added the option to shoot up. But, like, out of context, it kind of looks like he willingly got into the UFO. Not that he was kidnapped. Like, his lab was exploding and he escaped into the UFO. Like, what is that thing? Is that like it looks like like an ostrich head? Or like a peacock's head with a long neck? Oh, yeah, it is. Wait. When I remember that I can shoot up, it is a lot easier to... What are those flying... I just realized those are flying donuts. I mean, there's some games where, like, you have just sort of indescribable or abstract enemies or obstacles that you give nicknames like, oh, it's a spinning donut. But here, it's like, oh yeah, these are actually donuts. Because of the whole, like, sweets and fruit and theme of this game, I guess. Yeah, I guess it's the guys that according to the lore I read on the Twinbee wiki, it is the grandson of the villain from the previous the main villain from the previous game. All right. Oh man, that is okay. I don't know, I wonder if this is harder. Now, I wonder if... Hey, Hamid, no problems. You are, like you said, it's the time zone difference. Yeah, it makes it a little tricky. So, I'm glad you could at least hop in. I don't know if you'll be able to hang out or what, but thanks for hopping in. I see your comments on my VODs on YouTube, and even if you can't make the streams live, I know you're supporting me and watching the VODs, and that you enjoy the stuff I make, which I really did not think I'd have as much of an audience and as much people enjoying my streams as much as they have been this early on, if ever. So I'm really happy. I'm grateful for that, and I appreciate you a lot. Now, it's interesting. I guess because... I wonder if it's because they know that the main fire button is also a button that drops bombs. They knew that there'd be lots of... I wonder if that's why they put lots of targets on the ground to bomb for extra points and power-ups. Now, I wonder if... possibly just because this is the first stage. There are no enemies down there. There are no, like, ground-based turrets. Yeah, there are no ground-based turrets. There's turrets. They're just things you can shoot for points and power-ups. Man, it's really tricky keeping those bells in play. It's really tricky. Yeah, it was I believe mid-May that was my 1-year anniversary. I just realized there's no pause button in this. I could always pause the virtual console, like, stuff, but I could only do that... I I need to press the home button on the Wii Remote, which I cannot do with the NES controller. Because with the NES controller, I'm limited to the controls on an actual NES, pretty much. Hey! Okay. Oh, okay. I just can't pause. Okay. I can't pause during the boss fights, but I can actually pause the game. Alright. There we go. Yeah, I don't... And so now this is more like traditional Twin Beat gameplay right now. But it's cool to have, scrolling and... Yeah, it's cool to have scrolling. Okay, so this is a... Doggone. That was fierce. No, I didn't... Oh my goodness. The difficulty certainly has ramped up. Yeah, this is an underwater themed stage. I don't know if I'm actually underwater or not, though. All these sea creatures, this is even though Scoon is a... Oh my gosh, these patterns are so erratic. Now, since we're actually at the second world, let's use a continue. You're on the subway, you got the talent of a natural born streamer. Hopefully you'll set up a Patreon or ROFLMAO OnlyFans. I'd gladly give you support, though I understand wanting to maintain your ability through VLOP. I don't think of it as maintaining my nobility. It's just, yeah, I don't think of it, I don't take it that seriously. I don't think I'm, like, selling out if I do paid, but I don't think I just don't quite have enough material of high enough a quality for Patreon. I don't, and, like, yeah, I need to have a large enough audience that it would be worth spending time I could otherwise be doing in my, like, IRL professional life and spending it on this instead. Because I'm already kind of flirting with the limits of my available free time doing just one stream a week. Like, when I did 2 streams a week, that was a unique situation a couple of weeks ago when I did the couple of streams a week. Or actually, I think I did 3 streams that week, and one of them was unplanned. So that was kind of a unique situation, and I enjoyed doing that, but at the same time, like, doing 1 stream a week, I look forward to the 1 stream more. It's like, okay, here comes my stream, you know, like, it's something to look forward to for me each week, and it's more unique and special. And the time spent preparing for multiple streams in a week really does, like, it's kind of pushing how much time I can responsibly spend on this kind of stuff. Oh, man, these enemies are everywhere. But I got the double shots, which is... Oh, I got the... Hey, we've got options. Which are what it's called when you have the sort of satellite ships in games like Xevious. So we've got to protect what we've got going on right here. Oh, this is a totally different game now. Hey, we made it to the boss. And it's interesting, the points aren't scaled very high, like... Well, that's... Oh, no, I did not recognize that as... Oh, come on, come on, come on. Come on, no, I could not... If I grabbed the ghost, it would have let me, It would have let me, So that second stage is as far as you got, huh? Alright, let's see if we could avenge Calacaboy and get to the second stage, or the third stage, rather. So you never got very far in this, but the memories are still so fond, huh? Okay. Oh. Now, what I might do, depending on how I'm gonna play at least an hour. I didn't do this last week. Actually, in the Arcade Archives doesn't let you do this. But Virtual Console lets you make restore points. Well, a restore point. What I might do is play legit for the first hour, or the next 40 minutes or so, and then maybe resort to using save states, or the restore point thing. Because it is a feature of this official release of the game. But I mean, when I'm going so far as to play with an actual NES controller, you know, it just occurred to me, like, I could have used my Super NES controller, I could have used that with, like, the GBA games that I've been playing, because I went through this whole, like, I guess season, or I guess 2 or 3 month period where I was focusing a lot on GBA stuff on the Wii U Virtual Console, and I never thought to use the Super NES controller, because they did release a Super NES style controller for the GameCube specifically for playing GBA stuff. Alright, game over for reals now. So, let's play legit for another 40 minutes, and then we'll resort to save states. But if I could get... Oh, okay, you could... It lets us continue from the second world. That's nice. I believe that the Japanese version of this title let you play games, let you continue infinitely. Is that, like, when you played this on NES back in the day, would it have let you continue from World 2 if you got a game over like that without the continue? And there was no continue option of, man, I'm getting wiped out. And only, like, moments into the first stage. You know, it's interesting, this just occurred to me. The enemies aren't even shooting at me. Do the enemies shoot at me at this? Because I feel like in Twinbee the enemies shot at me. At this, only the bosses seem to have shot at me. Okay, those guys shoot at you. Alright, because when I got the game over without the option to continue, I was fully prepared to... Yeah, I was fully prepared to start again from the beginning. Oh no, it was like, I was trying to keep the bell in play, but also avoid the starfish, so... Yeah, it doesn't say how many continues I have left either. If I unlock the multi-ship power-up, I'm gonna make a restore point for that. Even if I don't use it now, I can use it later. Oh my goodness. Now, I didn't have any power-ups to... Oh my goodness. The way the jellyfish sort of crash into you horizontally is really brutal. I believe the one I really... the power-up I need... Okay, so we pause. That's the home menu. Oh, it just occurred to me. There we go. So we want to create restore point. Yes. Now I have to use the Wii U controller for that. But now we're back to using the NES gamepad. It's so... Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah, this is a little bit wider. This is a lot wider, because Twinbee... This plays a little differently than Twinbee, because Twinbee was a portrait format monitor arcade game, whereas on the 4x3 here, it's a little wider. than the portrait mode monitor that the arcade game was played upon. So the play field is much wider, even in these vertical shooting sections. You know, the portrait monitor format's probably the reason the arcade Twinbee was a vertical shooter. Whereas if you look at, yeah, that's interesting. If you look at Fantasy Zone, that was played on a 4x3 monitor, that arcade game. So that was, I guess, better suited to it, or equally suited to horizontal or vertical shooting. I do want to know. Yeah, let's make a new restore point. We're gonna create right before the boss. Yeah. Okay. We're not gonna get tricked this time, because last time I didn't even recognize the projectiles for what they were. Oh. Now, if I can grab... Oh, let's... Do I want to... Yeah. That's interesting. I see something in... Okay. I saw something on my feed. Like, on my window. It appeared in my chat. On my video feed window. Before it actually appeared in my chat box. Okay, not enough material, not enough quality. People get enormous traction for far less. Not the least to market yourself, but... You know, you deserve a lot more views. You don't do infantile screaming, yet think and play so friggin' well at the same time. Reply and think so well at the same time. You reflect and comment on the game like it's no big deal. No, well, thank you. I know. I've had a professional streamer tell me that I'm very good at... I've had a professional streamer tell me that I'm very good at talking and commenting on the game with meaningful commentary, even when there's nothing going on in chat. Which I heard is a pretty, not as especially common skill. Because I guess that helps when, yeah, I guess that helps when it comes to that quickly, really. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll use that save state in the future, maybe. But it's been very generous. It's given me a lot of continues. Stinger, that was a Game Boy release of Stinger. I was not aware of that. Now, I wonder if that release I wonder if that release has the horizontal and vertical scrolling levels like this, or if it just sticks with the traditional vertical shooting gameplay. That's more traditional for the series. Alright. Oh yeah, that was the ambulance. That was the ambulance item. It seems like the ambulance appeared much more frequently in the arcade. No, I had the silver bell on screen and I missed it. Oh, nice music, by the way, in this. Definitely a... You know, it's funny, I think of... like, it's interesting where this... I don't know when this came out in North America. Was it 87, I think, in North America? Because on one... I don't know when it came out in Japan compared to US. But, like, in Japan, this would have been a game that came later and... Oh, my streams are always highly intellectual to the highest degree. You know, I'm looking past my monitor. There's a big black ant that's been exploring around my room and trying to, I guess, find stuff to bring back home to mommy. And I really... cause, as long as they don't get out of control and cause trouble, I'm not really gonna do anything about them. Like, if it was, like, the kind of ant that's really dangerous, or if it was some kind of really hazardous pest, I'd probably be a little more fierce in, getting rid of him, but it's like, it's just a black ant. He's not really causing any trouble. So, as long as I don't see, like, a bunch of them, you know, I really, no, I could let him do his thing. Yes, I did load that restore point. I really do find ants kind of endearing as long as they're not getting in the sugar and making trouble. So I really don't have anything in this room that I don't think he would be especially interested in. Hey. Power of cheating. I said I'd start cheating like using the restore points like a half hour in. But it looks like... Okay. Just gotta restart my chair here. There we go. When the continues run out, if they had been limited, probably kept trying to beat. Yeah, but I'm really surprised. Like, a lot of, like, Super Mario Brothers 2, I think you only get 2 or 3 continues. Super Mario Brothers 2 US, that is. Let's create a new restore point. Oh, so this... Okay, so now it's... we have the satellite ships. We have got the satellite ships going. And at the same time as, we have the satellite ships and this horizontally scrolling stage. So now it's really like Xevious. Was that the head of the Japanese folklore character Ishikawa Goemon? Because it kind of looked like that. Oh, wow. Wait, actually, yeah, I think that was the head of Ishikawa Goemon. Because this is a Konami game, and I think the first Goemon game had already come out by this point. So yeah, I think that was actually the head of Ishikawa Goemon. Yeah, there it is down there. Okay. If you look right above the Sphinx, above the Sphinx, in black and white, I believe that is the head of Ishikawa Goemon. And it's less than optimal color quality. This was on Wii U. Not sure why they couldn't make it at least good as the NES Classic Edition or Mini. I don't know why. Yeah, the colors are slightly muted on NES games. Actually, come to think of it, this is the first NES game I've ever played on the Wii U Virtual Console. Game Boy Advance... Is the color muted on GBA? I really can't tell because I have nothing else to compare GBA to. Yeah, and Mr. Goemon, the first Goemon game, is available on the Nintendo Switch through the Arcade Archives library. Oh no. Alright. This has turned into a save state game, so let's just go ahead and just load the save state. You really do feel like I've elevated streaming? That's quite the honor. Yeah. Yeah, because I was joking when I said that looked like the head of now, like, when you look at, when it comes to Konami's Goemon games, it's interesting, because the first game, the arcade game Mr. Goemon, kind of has a more traditional, the Goemon character kind of resembles, like, traditional historical depictions of Goemon. But then when it comes to... Alright. Yeah, GBA is spot on. Maybe since we got this far, I might as well try to play it legit. I don't... Yeah, they... And the first Goemon game for Famicom never came to North America. The first Goemon game that come to North America was Legend of the Mystical Ninja for Super Nintendo. But they didn't call him Goemon. They renamed Goemon and Ibi Samaru. They renamed him Kid Ying and Dr. Yang. And Yin and Yang are Chinese concepts, but I guess Konami was leaning into, like, okay, they're Americans, they probably don't know the difference between Chinese traditions and Japanese ones, so we're just going to name them some Asian-sounding stuff that they're probably going to be familiar with. But in Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, they obviously actually called them Goemon and Ibi Samaru. Let's load the restore point. There's a fan translation. There's a fan hack of the first Goemon game that they patched in English. The first Goemon game for Famicom. This is interesting because the first Konami Goemon game was an arcade-only game called Mr. Goemon, and it was kind of the graphics didn't really resemble like how the Goemon character would look in future Konami games. It kind of resembled sort of like old-fashioned Japanese artwork, like from I guess the like 18th or 19th century. Oh yeah, there's no, this game would have been tough back in the day with no restore points. Okay. Now loading the restore points is tricky because I have to use both the Wii U Pro controller and my NES controller for that. The NES controller that's plugged into my my Wii remote. So but the arcade game Mr. Goemon I will eventually play on Arcade Archives, and then I'd like to find out some way or another to play the fan translation of the first Goemon game. The first Goemon game is mostly an action game, but there is some Japanese text where if you don't know what's going on, it's not the easiest thing to play without a translation guide or something. Oh yeah, like the cutesy, the goofy enemies, the cutesy aesthetic, definitely not, don't let that fool you. This is definitely a very difficult game. Same with Fantasy Zone. And, I feel like I like this more. I like this more than, Twinbee on the arcade. Do I like this? It's hard to decide which one is better, and plus, with Twinbee on the arcade, I actually played legitimately, whereas here I'm using save states, so that's probably affecting my enjoyment of it a lot. Yeah, I have to maintain... I have to keep track of which of my fighters is the real one that has to avoid the obstacles, pretty much, is what's going on. The obstacles and the bullets. Oh no, I saw that coming. Alright, I'll see you around. I hope you enjoy wherever you have to go next, and thanks for watching me during your commute. The only Goemon game I played legitimately was... the Goemon for N64, the first Goemon game for N64. The sequel I wanted to play, but I never saw it in Blockbuster at the time, so I never got to play it. The sequel for N64, Goemon, the first Goemon for N64 was a cross between Mario 64 and Mario 60. It was a cross between Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time, but it came out before Ocarina of Time, which is interesting. Now when it comes to... oh gosh. Okay. Yeah, we're just save state abusing at this point. Not even... Yeah, we're not even gonna hide the fact we're just save state abusing at this point. Yeah, I wish there was just a hotkey to load the save states, like on an actual like PC emulator. Yeah, so it was like across between Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time before Ocarina of Time was out. Then, I know the second Goemon for N64 went back to its roots. It was a 2.5D side-scrolling action game. It was like a side-scrolling action game, but with like 3D models and 3D enemies and a dynamic camera in some points. But it was kind of like Klonoa 2 on the, or it was kind of like the Klonoa games for PS1 and PS2. And then, so but I never actually played it. Man, it is tough keeping track of all these enemies and obstacles. I just have to, basically what I'm doing right now is I feel like I'm not playing the game, and I am playing the game, but what I'm doing is basically I'm just spamming the B button while looking. I'm not even looking at the ship, I'm just looking around for the obstacles and the bullets and enemies. So in a sense, I feel like I'm not looking at the game properly. I'm just kind of looking at this. I'm not looking at my ship. I'm looking at the area around it. Alright, let's make another save state, because we got pretty far. And maybe if I beat it, we'll go back and play it legitimately. Without the, Okay, I'm glad I made that save state. You need to comment on this? Thanks a bunch. The commute went fast because this year's stream. The time zone thing is too much of an issue. That special webpage demo going on this evening. Bye for now. Alright, well I hope that goes well. I'll see you around. Clockable, you set your alarm to wake up for your stream because it's 9 AM here. Alright. Yeah, for me, waking, I don't think, even if without alarms, I don't think I'm able to lay in bed that long. But then again, I do go to bed relatively early. If I'm up at midnight, it's a pretty late day for me. And if I'm up that late, it's because I'm just, usually because I'm watching Twitch or something like that. I typically won't stay up that late, just, going about my business. Alright. 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 Now I wonder, are there any codes for this game? I didn't check to see if there are any codes for this game, because Konami's infamous for that, you know, the Konami code. I think this game might predate that a bit, though. Alright. Okay. Oh, shucks. Alright. Yeah, we're just playing flat out, like, easy mode using these save states right now. And maybe if we get to the end of the game, then we'll play through a little more, in a more period-accurate manner, let's say. Yeah, I just have to get into that groove like I had before, where I'm basically looking at the areas around the fighter instead of... Yeah, I look more at what's around rather than what's actually right in front of me. Because, boy, this gets hectic fast. In fact, I think I want to make another save state here, because we're doing well. Let's make another save state. Yeah, I didn't look up that or anything. I didn't look up anything about, Okay, I'm glad I... No, watch. Did I make a save state in a spot where it's gonna be really tricky to, Okay, good. I didn't save state with my back against the wall, and I can only do one save state. So if I save state in a spot, like if I accidentally save stated after I got the game over, or after I lost the fighter and all these power-ups, that would be it. I'd be on my own, and I'd have to play, you know, legitimately until I could get another, Alright. I don't want to get I don't want to get too annoying with making these save states constantly. No, and I won't... If I beat this way, I won't consider myself to have actually beaten the game. This is kind of like the single-player equivalent of an exhibition match. We're not... This doesn't mean anything in terms of my skill or ability to beat the game. We're just sort of taking a tour of the game right now, right? That's how I see it, at least. Now, because that's ahead of a character... A Konami character that would have even less context in North America. I wonder what the like the North American manual refers to the Goemon head as. Like, what is that? Oh yeah, this. Oh yeah, this. There's no way I could do this well without the options. You're wearing your iPods now while you do house chores so you can enjoy the stream? Alright. Well, let's make a new restore point. We're in World 4 now. I think there are 4 or 5 in all. So let's create the new restore point. What are these? Yeah, so we're back to... Oh, time to restart my chair. And for those who don't know, I have a massaging back chair. A massaging backrest. And without this, there's no way I'd be able to stream this long. When I generally am just sitting at the... Because this is the same setup that I'm sitting at now that I use for, you know, work and stuff. But there's just sitting so still to remain on camera. You never saw that boss before, so we're now further in the game than you ever got to back in the day. Come on. Now, I'm going to have to send this chair in for repairs, unfortunately. Because there's no way. Okay, come on. Because the remote on this, the wire is, like, failing. So I have to, like, bend it. I have to, like, wiggle it around until it starts to register the... And then I'm good for another 20 minutes until... Come on, come on. Oh yeah, this is getting way too... Yeah, after today's stream, I'm gonna have to... Alright. Yeah, I can't even get it to run now. Alright, we're just gonna have to do without it. And which is annoying, because without it running, it feels really weird to have, just to be leaning... Those TVs look like power-ups, and it's really insidious. You have TVs, records, coffee cups. Is this a level about the consumerism or something? Gonna look a little too deeply into it. Oh, wait. I just realized... Okay. Okay, I really needed that. That was the ambulance, so now I could drop bombs again. And this level actually has bombs. Actually has enemies on the ground that fire back at me, so it's kind of important that I... Okay. Okay. I was a... Alright, I recollected my power-ups, but then I immediately got trashed again, so let's go back to our... Now, look, I noticed that I've gotten so many points that I've actually actually earned some power-ups, because when I died, I didn't go straight to game over that time, like I was before. Oh, we just narrowly avoided that. Alright, we got far enough along that I want to make another restore point. Yeah, I might... Actually, yeah, I'm gonna load. I might have to go to Bed Bath & Beyond and see if I can find another one of these chairs. Because there's no way I could stream without. And I know it'll... If I try to use the warranty on this, I can't say how long it'll take. Did I actually... Oh my gosh. Now if I can grab... Alright, because I grabbed my power-up back, my power-ups back, I am going to create a new restore point. Man, this is a tough. Oh, we got some irons going, some telephones. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. That didn't happen. Now let me... I want to try again real quick. Can I? Alright. What I'm gonna do... This is gonna be a bit involved. Are there any other British cookies I recommend you try? I just have to remove... I'm just gonna actually remove the chair from my bed crust, which is a bit of a complicated procedure. There we go. It's the first time I removed that backrest in months because it is really awkward. Woof. Okay. You know what? I need... Where did I put... I don't know where I put my... I had a foam backrest. I can't find my backrest, but I do have a seat. Alright. This is supposed to be a seat and not a backrest. Let's see how this does. Yeah, I'm really not an expert on British cookies or food or anything. I just happen to know of a couple. I mean, Biscoff, I think, is more of a Belgian thing. Because I believe that's what's... Also, Speculoos, which I've heard described as Belgian gingerbread. For... Oh. Forgot which controller I was using. Okay. Yeah, there's Speculoos, which I've heard described as Belgian gingerbread. And then there's, well, then there are the digestive... Oh, shucks. And then there's digestives. Load restore point. Yeah. Just to make sure I wasn't writing over my restore point. Okay, so we can take care of the irons. The telephones. Okay, then the televisions. Yeah, so oh wow, we're up to the boss. I guess... Oh, you can't pause during the boss. So we're gonna have to just try to take him out. Where are you... fierce obstacle. Alright. Alright. I think our load point wasn't far before. We'll find the point right before the boss and make the restore point there. If that arm always appears at the same place, it won't be too hard to, Okay, so that wasn't so far before the boss. But I want to put... If I stay in the upper left, let's see if it's easier to avoid. Okay. This is a real... That was one of those really serious, like, button-mashing, serious time moments right there. I really felt like I was a guy in a video game, like, like, I really felt like I was, you know, when people in... Not so much nowadays, when people in video games, a lot of times, even not that long ago, would play video games on TV, they'd be like, like, you don't really, see that so much as... Typically what was happening is I think people who really didn't play video games at all were directing the actors in those scenes. So even if you were a gamer and knew how it really looked to play video games, you know, you just, when you're an actor, you just do what the director wants, so. Yeah, that exaggerated gameplay. Now I like the, that's another, Life Force, which was also known as Salamander. That's another game I did want to play sooner or later. I have it on the NES Virtual Console, but right now I can't. I might have to. I wasn't really enthusiastic about doing this, but I might have to just go ahead and transfer all my Wii Virtual Console stuff to the Wii U, so I just have a system that can output native HD and work with my capture equipment and my monitors. Because the Wii shop is closed in terms of buying games from it, but I believe you can still download like certain applications, like the Wii Wii to Wii U transfer app. But what I don't know is how to move stuff from the memory card. Like, I don't know if, because I have a lot of, like about 60% of the stuff I have on the Wii is on the memory card and not on the Wii, and to download stuff to put stuff, I don't know if there's a way to transfer stuff from my memory card onto another Wii. That's what I'm worried about. And if there's no way to transfer my stuff from a memory card on my Wii, like those Virtual Console games that are stored on the memory card, if I can't transfer those, then... And I don't know if you could re-download stuff. I'll have to do some more research into how that kind of stuff works, because I need to use the SD card to transfer stuff from the Wii to the Wii U. But the instructions I read, did I? Okay, good. Okay, for a sec. No, I just have to not do that. I got scared for a second and thought that I had okay. I got scared for a second and thought I saved over my the restore point that had all the goodies on it. And I don't have arms right now, so I can't drop bombs. So I'm vulnerable to all these ground enemies. Well, and I can't fire back to take them off the screen. Are those volleyballs? Yes, they are volleyballs. Of course they're volleyballs. Why would they not be volleyballs? The thing that is kind of fair about this is the ground enemies don't seem to shoot... Oh, that was just careless. The ground enemies don't seem to shoot once I'm above a certain point on the screen, at least. Yeah, this is kind of similar to Life Force, which I believe also has... And I believe Life Force is a relatively easy shooter, is from what I heard. Well, I heard that Life Force is fairly easy. Oh yeah, that's how we got onto talking about the Wii Virtual Console stuff, because I have Life Force on the Wii Virtual Console. And I think it might be on the NES Classic Edition. I don't know. Man. But, I may end up, I don't want to hack the NES Classic Edition I have, but I may end up looking into see if I can find a modified NES Classic Edition. Or see what other FPGA options aside from Analog System, which is rare and, well, it's not rare, it's just very expensive to get Analog's FPGA system because they only made a certain number of them. But if I can get, like, one of the other FPGA options, I would be fully willing to, you know, buy the cartridges, because I do have a lot of NES cartridges anyway. So it'd be a lot like with my Analog SG, where it's like, yeah, it's not the original system, but at least it's the original cartridges. But for certain rare games, I would use a, for certain rare games, I would use the, emulation. I would use, not emulation, but I'd use the ROM, and just play it on, like, an EverDrive. Oh, yeah, this is, okay, let's pause. Life Force is very easy compared to this game, and it's funny, because Life Force is the more, like, straight-faced, like, traditional, more gritty shooter in terms of the aesthetics. I've never played Life Force, so when I play Life Force, it will be a first time on screen. I believe you can use the Konami code with Life Force as well to start off with maxed out options and power-ups. But let's load. Alright, so there we go. Now, I can't go above a certain point, so I have to remember that for the purposes of, I considered making a save point there, but... Okay, I just wanted a moment of relative safety to make the save point in. Okay, alright, took those out. Oh no, I ran right into that. I was safe, and then I almost went out of my way to run into that bullet, so. Now it's a little complicated just because I'm playing with the NES controller, going back, using my Pro controller to load the save states over and over. But when we beat this, what we call our exhibition run, and we'll play legit. And when I'm playing legit, it'll be a lot less complicated to use a real NES controller. I know Tommy Tallarico was really outspoken in his dislike of the NES and Super NES controllers. Because even with, like, when they released the Hori Digital controller, which is basically a Super NES version of the GameCube controller. Well, it was a Super NES controller that you could, controller that you could use on GameCube. Well, the thing is, this was, I guess, if it was Nintendo themselves, even with the Japanese, with the American version of Super... Oh, wow. We got another upgrade, so let's yeah, with the Japanese version, with the American version of Super Mario Bros. 2, in Doki Doki Panic, you actually had infinite continues. And Nintendo took that away when they converted it to the North American version of Super Mario Bros. 2. So they actually even made Super Mario Bros. 2 a little harder than Doki Doki Panic in certain ways. Yeah, load. Okay, that's what we want. And and I don't think it was just that it was the American Super Mario Bros. 2 was too hard, but it was also just so unimpressive compared to a lot of the stuff that was coming out on NES at the time. like just graphically in terms of the presentation. But what's interesting to me is that Nintendo, like, they could have just taken... I'm glad they did. I know a lot of people sort of lament that we got the Doki Doki Panic ROM hack, as it were, instead of the actual Super Mario Bros. 2 as it released in Japan. But if it wasn't for that conversion, Nintendo would have probably never been able... because the Fuji TV owns the rights to the Dream Factory family characters, so we would have never been able to get... Oh, it's that ground-based enemy. That's what keeps killing me. Okay, I see what's going on now. So they probably would have never got a non-disc system release of Doki Doki Panic, and that was a great game made by the creators of the Super Mario Brothers games that we otherwise would have just sort of never gotten any re-release again. Sort of like how we never got any re-release of Popeye after the NES version, to the point where there was even like there was a version of Popeye released on mobile that was not by Nintendo, and apparently Nintendo with Popeye, oh, I forgot the little, they look like Diglets to me. Apparently, Nintendo doesn't even own the rights to the game code for Popeye on NES, to the point, or the arcade Popeye, to the point where some other company released a version of that game on mobile, and it has absolutely nothing to do, like, it's clearly the arcade or NES version of Popeye, but it has no Nintendo credit on it whatsoever. And so we got to enjoy a great game. Man, this is getting really tough. But it's kind of funny, Nintendo actually did make the game theoretically harder than Doki Doki Panic. Like, the Super Mario Bros. 2 US was actually harder than Doki Doki Panic, in the sense that they reduced your continue, because in Doki Doki Panic you did have infinite continues. Okay, this game... I have to go serious time with this and focus for a moment. Okay. I'm actually going to make the restore point here, just because that moment was so tough to get through. But it's kind of funny, because instead of... Like, Super Mario Bros. 3 was already out in Japan, I believe, at the time that... Like, Nintendo could have just taken Super Mario Bros. 3 from Japan, changed the 3 to a 2, Final Fantasy style, and released it in North America as Super Mario Bros. 2. But fortunately, which everyone would have loved, but fortunately they did not do that. They actually put in the effort, and they could have did it with less resources. All they would have done is change the 3 to a 2 in Super Mario Bros. 2 title screen. Super Mario Bros. 3 title screen. But they actually went to the effort of converting Doki Doki Panic. Oh my gosh. Did I actually create my nightmare here? Where I actually save stated at a very difficult moment that's hard to survive? Or even impossible to survive. No, I didn't, but I see where I messed up there. Alright, there we go. Okay, we made it to the boss. I'm gonna save state here, because I'm at a safe spot, and we could, yeah, I know I'm spamming the button here. And the laser sound, the upgraded laser sound is a tad annoying. Wow, a giant boombox, that's... And with that wow! That was the easy... I mean, I did have upgraded lasers compared to when I fought the last boss. Alright. my original intent... Hold on. Trade restore point. Yeah. Because I lost my massaging heated off chair thing, I might not be able to stream as long as I intended, but we are going to at least get through this exhibition run of Stinger. And at least an hour of Fantasy Zone on Master System. Yeah, let's load. Because otherwise I would be playing this for at least another 50 minutes. But I'm probably just going to go play through the boss, take my break, because without the massaging back chair, it's really tough to sit here for a long time. Oh, we're definitely... I have full confidence that we're going to beat this game. This might be the last level for all I know. And then I guess I'm going to have to go to the mall. And see if I can, Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is tough. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go to the mall and see if I can get a replacement massaging back chair, which is not cheap, but there's no way I can... Yeah, I'm not gonna go through what it takes to... Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, I feel like this has to be the last stage, because I'm pretty powered up here, and I'm still getting wiped out in a few seconds. And we are back to the more traditional... Oh, wait, I just realized. This is the second... Yeah, this has been the second vertical scrolling level in a row, hasn't it? Man, can I at least get through the opening jingle before I take the death? Alright. Yeah, these enemies are tough, because it's... The way they scroll down before... Oh my gosh. Yeah, like if I mean, I beat it on stream, but oh my god. But I will not consider myself having beaten the game abusing the restore points like this. Man, these guys are tough. Alright. Just notice there's a bit of a loading seam on the bottom of the screen there. This is... Alright. Yeah, I don't know how... This is crazy. Any kid who actually beat this back in the day is like... You've got to be like Jimmy Woods level to play this, honestly. And the thing is, this is a home... I mean, it was probably a lot easier with 2 players. And in the Famicom, you know what? I just realized why this game might be the way it is. Because in Japan, you can play with up to 3 players. On NES, you can play with 2. So when they're designing an enemy, like these enemy and bullet patterns for 3 players, maybe that's why it's as tough as it is. Having someone stand behind me, like, massaging my back as I streamed would, I think, make this a very different sort of stream. I definitely would rather have just my backrest. And the thing is, it's not like the backrest part is broken. It's just the wire for the remote that I need to run it is what's broken. So the stream might go a little shorter than I planned. But we're at the very least going to get through this. And We don't have more lives, so we really do have to, yeah, we're gonna go for it. And... Oh. Yeah, okay. I'm actually going to make the restore point here. Gonna create restore point. There we go. Wow, okay. Alright, okay, that's just a truck outside. I'm wondering for a second what was going on out there. Man, what are those little tiny... The tiniest little like, for anything in a game that was supposed to be a dragon, those sprites right there that took me out were probably the smallest dragons I've ever seen in a video game. You'll see them. Yeah, those... And they come from the bottom, too. How am I supposed to dodge that? What are you doing, bird? Little birdie. This little bird just hovered up looking in the window. Like he has business in here. Like I have stuff for him in here, and I don't. I guess I don't know if the window was so clean that he thought it was a cave he could fly into for a break. I don't know. Man. And then there was a moment where I could have made a save state because I felt nope. Yeah, I hope you... Okay. Yeah, I'm actually going to make another save state. Just for getting through that moment. You know, a couple of years ago, I had a bird build their nest like right on the ledge of my window. So I couldn't open the window without disturbing the baby birds. So I just left. I just had to leave my window closed for a couple of months. I didn't mind because it was fun watching the mother raise the birds, but... Oh my goodness. What I might do... you know what? I'm just gonna start... I've been using the NES controller with the Wii Remote to this point. I'm just gonna go ahead and just use the Pro Controller. So that way I could load the save files without having to reach over to a separate controller. Alright. This will be better. Just have to find where the start button is. Oh, well, it's definitely more comfortable. This is the most save state abuse on stream since the gambling mini games. Oh my gosh, I forgot those guys come from the bottom, and it's so cheap and unfair. This is the most save state abuse on my stream since the gambling mini games in Mario Party Advance. Man, I just have to get through that one moment with the dragons, and then maybe I can make another save state. Oh man, I almost got through that moment. Look at all this stuff. This is... With infinite moment-to-moment tries, this is still that hard. Yeah, I'm actually going to make another save state already. Okay. Because the thing is, you've... Just make the game a little easier, and then people can get through the game maybe a little easier, but then they can improve their score as they get better at the game. But they're really... This game is harder. Well, I did get far into it, which is true too. This is so much harder than Twinbee on... Like, Twinbee on arcade was not that hard. It's just the first boss was unbalanced. The first boss was just too difficult. Oh my gosh. Alright. Oh my goodness. Alright. I'm gonna make another save point there. Yeah, this is... Alright. This is so ridiculous. This is... Like, Zero Wing was, like... I know Zero Wing has the meme status going for it, Zero Wing on Genesis, but that game was... I don't... This game is just... Zero Wing was so much fairer earlier on than this game is. And I like the music and the characters and stuff. It just gets so difficult so fast. Like, at least Zero Wing, I could get to, like, a few stages in. Now, I haven't played Zero... I played it on emulation back in, like, 2002 or 3 in, like, the meme era. Like, when the All Your Base Belong to... That's another thing. All Your Base Belong to Us, people, even, like, pretty early on, I guess when the initial fad was over, people was like, oh, I can't, like, when I'd make references to it, or say, people like, oh, that's so old, why do you like that old meme? Like, I didn't like it because it was popular. I liked it because I actually personally found it funny. Now, if you want to like the All Your Base thing because it's fashionable... I, like, actually just liked it because I personally enjoyed it. Regardless of whether or not it was current or hip or anything. Okay, there we go. Those dragons are ridiculous. I don't know if this game was well received here. I really don't. I never heard people talk about Stinger like I did Life Force, so I'm gonna guess Life Force was more popular. Oh wait, wrong button. Man. This better be the last stage. Because this game just is unbalanced, in my opinion. The first couple of stages can be fun, but at this point, it's not fun anymore. Okay. I'm gonna make the restore point here, but I'm in a tricky spot. So I'm definitely gonna have to learn the exact pattern of how to move at that moment. Because I got those little dinky dragons coming in from below. Okay, I made it through that moment, so I'm making another restore point. Yeah, Life Force had unlimited continues. I believe you could use the Konami code in that game to give yourself a maxed out ship at the start and a bunch of extra lives. Alright. Oh my goodness. Like, this is gonna make... Fantasy Zone is not an easy game on Master System, or in general. And that's... this is gonna make Fantasy Zone look like a McDonald's play place. Oh my goodness. This is too tough. Oh my gosh. Oh, I keep pressing pause and I forget why. It's I'm impressed, and not in like a condescending way. I'm just, I guess, impressed that you have so much affection for the game when how ridiculous it is, when you only saw like 1/10 of the game content because of just how over the top ridiculous it was. But there are a few NES games that I played that I really only saw the first couple of stages of that I have a lot of fond memories of, like Shadow of the Ninja, which I believe I might have a ROM for on my Wii Virtual Console. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm making another save point there. Yeah, how, like, I'm making, like, if I survive, like, 5 to 10 second little windows, and it's like, okay, I survived that 10 seconds to make another save point. Okay, no more little dinky dragons. Your brother and you played the first level so many times, those are your fond memories? Oh, okay, if you've got someone else to play with, that makes a big difference. And with 2 people playing, that probably improved your your odds of survival significantly. Alright. Yeah, if this is... I don't know what I'll think if this is not the final stage and the final boss. Alright. I got shot from below there. I have to avoid that. See, I survived those several seconds. And I'm not being facetious in doing it like this. This really is... Alright. Like, in each moment where I could pause and the screen is relatively clear of stuff. See, so I'm gonna have to dodge those little dinky dragons. Okay. Oh wait, what was that? Did I? No. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna load. Bless everyone who's actually watching this, because if you wanted to see high skill gameplay, this is not the stream for it. Okay. Wait, how did I get shot there? And at this point, I'm practically playing the game frame by frame. What is destroying me there? Okay. Yeah, I'm practically playing the game frame by frame now. No, not create a restore point. If I created a restore point there, that would have basically been the end of the game. The end of the run. There's no way I could survive this without all these power-ups. Okay. Create. Oh my gosh. There might only be like a minute or two of actual gameplay left in this game, but this process of having to constantly make and restore these save states. Yes. Hey, as long as the memories are rushing back and you're enjoying it, that's all that matters. It's making it all worth it. Oh, what even? I didn't even see what got me. I didn't even see what got me. This is too fast. Okay. I was almost about to... I'm glad I got shot when I did, because I was almost about to make a save state there. It's like, oh, this is a quiet moment. Let me make a save state. Yeah, I don't want to... I'm not sure if this is a game I'll necessarily be coming back to, because this is like... This is with... ridiculous levels of save state abuse. Oh my gosh. So I can't even say if this game would be unplayable to me with... I mean, this game's unplayable now. Not because it's bad, it's just too hard. And I mean, that could be a fault of the game. Like, you could, that's just the argument you can make that the game isn't... It's well made. It's not like they just threw something together. It's just that... Okay, I'm gonna make another save state. I see the little dinky dragons appearing. So I'm gonna dodge to the left when I unpause. Okay, it looks like there's a rocket factory down there. I cannot believe it's been nearly 2 hours already. Well, I did delay the stream a bit, so it not... Wow, we were nearly to the boss. Man. Yeah, we were like seconds away from the boss there. I just have to navigate those last few seconds before the boss. Oh my gosh, so close, so close. Okay. Yeah, I'm not even sure if this is possible on the Wii, so if I was... Alright. Oh my gosh, I just have to navigate those several seconds. I've gotten further before. That time I didn't even feel like I was in control. Okay, I just have to... I keep saying I just have to not get hit by the bullets, but... Oh, that time I just straight up ran right into him. Okay. I don't think... Is there anyone coming from the bottom of the screen? Because if there is, I could remain on the bottom of the screen and Okay. So, I gotta shoot. I stay on the bottom for these guys. Then when the... Oh, okay. I'm getting a pattern, but it's actually getting me pretty consistent results. I'm gonna save. I'm gonna make another save state. Okay. We got through the stage. This better be the last boss. I don't want to see more... Oh my gosh, there are actually more dinky dragons. Wow, we actually in space finally. Okay. There's enough. How much more stuff can possibly be in this game? I thought we're almost up to the boss. Alright. After the... No. I forgot which way the dragons were coming from, so I... See, and make another restore point. Okay. Yeah, this game, I don't hate it, but I'm probably, frankly, not going to be coming back to it. Oh, man. I had an opportunity to make another restore point, too. Okay. Yes, for the first time on stream, I am actually holding my breath. Man, I feel like, why isn't that last guy taking the damage? Alright. Because I got... Every time I survive for several more frames. I'm just making another restore point. Oh, man. Okay. Okay, more dinky dragons coming. Okay, so there's only going to be one to my left. So I want to go to the right a bit. Oh, I can't pause anymore. So that means we made it to the boss. Alright. Final boss. And watch me destroy the final boss in seconds. After all that. Well, let's see if it... Oh, it's the three-eyed sun. What?! I didn't... I was kidding. I think I instantly destroyed the boss. There's more? Oh, okay. Alright. I'll be right back. Okay. Yeah. Let's continue. I cannot believe that there's more to this game. They're little flying... Alright. Are the little flying men, are those actually enemies? Oh. It looks like those guys are... I don't even know what these objects are supposed to be. I mean, I destroyed the sun. You'd think that would be the end of the game, but... Alright, let's make another restore point. This is a much easier level than the last one. I mean, I'm glad the boss was easy, because the level was ridiculous. I almost ruined my game by saving over my power-ups. Sometimes when you see a bullet and it's somewhere in the way of where you want to go, Sometimes you really have to... It's like playing chicken, where, like, I can see it coming, but I'm gonna bet I can get to where I want to be before that enemy or bullet gets there first. And that's... Oh, man. And notice all these... As far as the game is concerned, I've just been playing a perfect game with one fighter left all this time. All these points and all these power-ups, we haven't earned a single extra fighter. Yeah, let's make another restore point here. Let's make a restore point right before these little mini suns. Alright. Yeah, I'm gonna create the restore point. Okay. Gotta try again. Oh man. Okay. Gonna make another right here. It's a little... I feel a little risky when I make them, they are a bunch of enemies on screen, but they're in a place where I could basically predict how they're going to act and be sure that I'll be able to safely... Okay. There are many suns loading into the screen now. Oh no, did I actually blow it? Where I made a save point at a point where... Yeah, I might have actually blew it right there by making the save point where I did. Okay, not quite. I just have to know exactly where to move. Okay. I have to get myself out of this mess now. That's kind of what I've been fearing for a while. But it's not as bad as it could be. Alright, I'm good now. Alright, I'm good. I'm good. We can make a new... Oh my gosh. You can sit down to a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch after finishing your housework? Well, I'm glad you were able to get it all done. If you were only listening, you've probably just been hearing a whole bunch of the Wii U Virtual Console menu chimes. As I repeatedly... Yeah, I'm back to strawberries and shredded wheat for breakfast for me, because I know I did... Last week I did admit to giving into some Cinnamon Toast Crunch to get the Pokemon cards in there, which I got some pretty good pulls out of. 2 holos, one of which is like the Pikachu that's probably like the most desirable out of all of them. Load restore. Yeah. No, wait. Okay, I wanted to make a restore point there. I just had to make sure I hadn't just taken a hit and lost my fighter and power-ups and then saved over that. Because if at this rate, I'm eventually going to do it out of just a wrong reflex. Yeah, I'm going to make another. Oh, man. At least the music's okay. Oh my gosh. I still prefer Fantasy Zone music to this, but... Alright. Yeah, not much commentary. It's just... I'm practically... just... Oh my gosh. Almost got past those mini suns. Yeah, I'm basically playing the game frame by frame, which isn't the best viewing experience, but if you find my frustration amusing, then I'm glad I could provide for you. Now I didn't think, even using these cheats pretty much, I was not... Okay. Okay, final, the boss is... Okay, it's... I know the boss is coming because during the boss I'm unable to pause. I really didn't look into the specific history of any of the Twinbee games after Stinger that were on NES. There was an official, even though Nintendo and Sega were console competitors at this point, there was an officially licensed, well, officially authorized by Sega NES release of Fantasy Zone for the NES, which theoretically would have been a fairer thing to compare this to than the Master System, because it's even better when they're both on the same hardware, pretty much. It came out on Famicom. It was released in North America and Europe by Tengen, I think. But I'm going to be playing the Master System version of Fantasy Zone. I just want to make sure. Okay, yes, I did. This better be the final boss. It's a snake head? Like... Wait. Oh, wait. Did I not? I don't think I got... Okay. We're gonna make the restore point now. Yes, I like snakes normally, but you... Oh, I see what's okay, he can actually scroll. He can scroll past the limits of the screen, okay. Okay. I'm gonna... It takes... He was down here when he loaded in before. Let's create the restore point here so I don't have to sit through the... Okay. It's tricky figuring out how to go about... Because I can't shoot backwards. Okay, so he moves. He's moving differently based on either RNG or how or he's reacting to my ship. Hey! Exit. We beat the game, I think. Thank you for saving my life. I knew that I could count on you in my time of peril. You're one of the greatest stingers of all time. Aw, thank you, Dr. White / Dr. White / I think his name is Dr. Light? I forgot his character's name. Alright. So we beat Stinger. We beat Stinger. First try, right? First try? I mean, a lot of games at this point didn't really have proper credits. Programmed by... Okay. Programmed by Kazuhiro Shinemon. Shinemon. I never heard that name before, but is that... I think the character's name is Dr. Cinnamon. I wonder if that's... If this Japanese name is Shinemon. Like the programmer. And so it was a play on words, they made him Dr. Cinnamon. The character in the game. Okay. Way too hard. It's not bad, but it's way too hard. This is for master side-scrolling shooter players. Press start key. Yeah. So let's... Okay. How about we play... Gotta go on my... Okay. So let's set up the audio for the next game. Same mic volume, but we're gonna change the game volume to 23.5. So yeah, first time seeing the credits. Glad I could do that for you. But after all that, I've got to give not only my body, but also particularly my hands a break, because I was really... So definitely, I'll be back in 10 minutes with some Fantasy Zone. And actually, why don't I'm going to change my category over to... Oh, no. Excuse me. I'm going to change my... Space Fantasy Zone. They have a category for 3D Fantasy Zone. And you can't even... Okay. Actually, I'm just going to change things. Fantasy Zone. Master System. We'll play that for about an hour. I otherwise would go 2, but with after my chair failure, I'm probably not going to be able to go on 4 as long as I would have planned. But I'll be back, and thanks for sticking with me through that. Alright. Okay, let's go for an hour and 10 minutes, and then we'll call the stream. But first, now look at the... Well, you could see it here as well on my my hold screen. The box... Compare these two box arts here. You've got Stinger and Fantasy Zone. Which game looks more interesting? Like, the Master Zone had this strange thing where it feels like they were trying to make, like, the most generic console they possibly could. And, so that extended to the artwork. I'm going to turn the console on now. So you got a lot of this weird, like, this weird graph paper motif for a lot of the games and boxes where they just... it looks like they just drew the most simplistic representation of something from the game they possibly could and ran it, and it's often really dinky or unimpressive looking. Like, this does not look that interesting, honestly. This box art alone would not get me to like the game, but I do kind of like the consistency of a lot of these games. Now, it's slightly cropped off by the TV frame, but we have run cartridge. Normally, on a Mega SG, you'd have run cartridge, play Ultra Core, settings, and tools. Instead, you have run cartridge and cores. And because I cannot play it on the Wii Virtual Console, which is my plan, I cannot get my standard definition to HD adapter that I have for the Wii to work. So I soft modded it with the Ghost Monster firmware. I didn't even know if the Ghost Monster firmware would still let me play Ultra Core, which I've never booted up once, by the way. But this lets me play Genesis ROMs, Game Gear ROMs, SMS or SG-1000 ROMs, and ColecoVision. And the reason ColecoVision is on there, because SG-1000 was essentially, as I understand it, just a ColecoVision. Pretty much, almost the exact same hardware. To the point where there were clone systems back in the 80s that could play Master System, that could play SG-1000 and ColecoVision. But we want to go to SMS or SG-1000. Now, I have two games in here, two ROMs on here. Fantasy Zone, which is what we're playing, and if I had the time, if I had planned in advance by a couple of weeks, I would have actually had the physical cart, because I am playing this on an actual FPGA Sega compatible system, and the whole point of that is being able to play with real cartridges. But because of the short notice, and because I did plan to play this on the Wii Virtual Console originally, so for short notice sake, to be able to have a playable version of the game, I did soft mod this with the Ghost Monster firmware to have the Smoke Monster firmware, excuse me, not Ghost Monster, which is from Pac-Man, Smoke Monster. And so I have Fantasy Zone and a special version of Sonic the Hedgehog for Famicom, which we'll discuss at the end of the stream, because I will be playing that next week. So we got Fantasy Zone on Master System. If you remember the arcade version last week, it's quite the downgrade. Now, the reason I do have the TV... I like to have the television frame on these... for my Master System games, because if I switch off the TV frame, look at how much of the game screen is taken up just by the loading seam. Master System games tend to have huge loading seams on them. And so, part of that loading seam would have been taken up by the way it would have been displayed on a period tube television. So I do have this on here. So it's slightly cropped off the picture. Would have been a little closer to how this would have been on an actual TV. Now, eventually, they're going to scroll the storyline for the game. As we wait for that, I want to bring up, this is what, a Fantasy Zone, another cute 'em up, just like Stinger, which is part of the Twin Beast series. This is a screenshot from Super Fantasy Zone on the Mega Drive. And this is what Opa Opa actually looks like. He is a living spaceship, just like the Stingers, or the Twin Bees. But whereas in Twin Bee or Stinger, the ships are built by human beings, whereas in Fantasy Zone, human beings don't exist. You actually have a race of sapient spaceships, and when they fly into space, you see images in Super Fantasy Zone of these ships actually piloting larger ships that they use for transportation. The character here is only about a foot or a couple of feet tall. These are actually small ships. But because human beings don't exist, they don't really have that scaling to... Now, I have seen Now, I do have I do have an actual Master System controller to use with the Yeah, I actually do have a actual Master System controller, which I don't have handy. But I don't use it with the Mega SG, because with the Mega SG, okay, cool. Long ago, far away in space, there existed a fantasy zone, where a courageous hero called Opa Opa, the player, fought in a valiant cause to rescue the fantasy zone from its enemies. In the space year 6216, the interplanetary monetary system collapsed, causing all the planets to become panic-stricken. According to an official inquiry made by the Space Guild, someone is leading the men and planet forces, using them to steal the foreign currencies of the other planets, and with the funds, construct a huge fortress in the Fantasy Zone. To put an end to their ambitious plans, Opa Opa promptly takes off for the Fantasy Zone, where... And this flavor text is similar to what you get in the arcade version. And really, the main reason I'm installing on this title screen, but I don't use... So, I am using the Sega Genesis original controller with the 3 buttons. I'm not using the Master System controller because the Master System does not have a... The Master System gamepads don't have a pause button on them, a start button, because the pause button was on the console itself. So because of that, it's for convenience and being able to pause at will. Now, I have played this game before. Oh gosh, I thought that was a power-up, but it was an enemy. I have played this only once before on the Wii Virtual Console, and I was familiar with the Fantasy Zone series, but I didn't really know, like, how to play. And so when I played... Yeah, this is a lot more colorful than Stinger. The colors on NES games on the Wii U Virtual Console are kind of muted. But in addition to that, I believe the Master System, or SG, or Sega Mark III, did have better color capabilities and sound capabilities than the NES. But it's compared to the arcade version, it's definitely a significant downgrade. Like, when I destroy the bases here, and the music was massively downgraded, but they did make the music a lot faster. They made the music a lot faster, but it's definitely a huge downgrade compared to the arcade version. Now, if you remember the arcade version last week, there was sort of a crude map type thing on the bottom of the screen that indicated where the nearest bases were, and it sort of illustrated visually that I was looping through the same screen over and over, the same stage. But in this version, there's nothing to indicate that the screen is looping. I believe the prices are about the same. Heavy bomb. Okay, that's what that item is. 16 to... Oh, it's like an anvil because it's a big bomb. Okay. Let's... And in the arcade version, you sort of... It took you to a paused version of the game screen. Here it takes you to a completely different screen where you actually choose what you want to have equipped. And a much quicker... And, yeah, there is no rapid fire in the arcade version. They added a rapid fire for the version they have on the Nintendo Switch. Oh! Oh my gosh. I did not realize... See, like, there's nothing to indicate, like, on the arcade, it's easier to know when the boss is gonna show up, because I know, okay, I'm about to destroy the last fortress. Here, there's nothing... Oh my gosh. I've never really... I'm not even sure if I've heard of Athena before. I know you mentioned it, and I was gonna ask about it, but I got sidetracked. You know, it's funny. The name Athena makes me think of Kid Icarus, because it has the sort of, you know, pagan mythology theme in Kid Icarus. And in fact, Palutena from Kid Icarus, a lot of people believe, and it seems to make sense, that... Excuse me. That Palutena, the character Palutena, is probably meant to be Pallas Athena, sort of transliterated into Japanese and then back into English. So when I lose to the boss, you have to do the whole stage over again. So I purchased the big wings because I wasn't familiar with the controls. I accidentally didn't equip them. Alright. And, now I talked about, man, this seems even tougher than the arcade version. Or I'm just, see, look, I thought I had enough time to turn around and shoot him, but in the time between doubling back to shoot the enemy, and I didn't even have enough time to get off a shot. Oh, it's an action platformer, okay. And it was really tough, because you were talking, I think, just about tough NES games, and that's when you mentioned Athena? Alright. Yeah, I don't like the quicker version of this music. But I do, like, putting the ROM of this game, like, jailbreaking my Mega SG to accept ROMs via the SD card was not, ideal solution. I'm glad the solution was available to me. But I do intend to add this actual physical, I don't intend to collect games, but this is a game I do want to add to my collection. The actual physical cartridge. But when it comes to... in future, I only like ROM hacks that only available as a very expensive reproduction cartridge, or very rare and expensive games. Those are the only games I really plan to... Man! Because I took that hit, now I have to do the whole stage over again. This game is really tough. Oh, I guess I just happened to get a game over last time. I just happened to have no fighters left last time. I feel like the bullet patterns are much tougher. Much tougher. Yeah, I feel like... Yeah, we definitely want to... Gonna buy some big wings. What do we want? What else do we want? Turbo engine. Jet engine. Rocket engine. We have $5,000. Extra ship is... we could afford an extra ship. And the next one costs like $10,000. I feel like it was much more forgiving about money. This game makes you think of Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. Yeah, the cutesy aesthetic, the cutesy visuals and music, definitely. You made me do my thing. I plan on playing the entire Yoshi's... And that's a game I have to make sure I get on the Wii U Virtual Console before yeah, well, fortunately... on the Super Train Station H, every station has a teleporter directly from the station to the train, so even if you miss the train at the platform, you can still hop on board at any time. Hey, Zero Wars. This will probably interest you. I actually jailbroke my Analog Mega SG to accept ROMs, because I was gonna play this on the Wii Virtual Console, but I didn't realize until it was too late that my Wii, I have an adapter that lets me plug in an HDMI cable, and so basically a Wii to HDMI a converter. And about a year ago when I got it, I tested and it worked fine, but then I never actually played games with it. I only went to the Wii channel menu. And I didn't realize until about half a week ago, like 3 or 4 days ago, that when I was setting up my Wii to stream with for the first time, that my Wii, the adapter only lets me play, it only works for the main menu, like the Wii channel menu. It will not work for actual games. When it goes into games, like the Wii console falls asleep and only lets me browse the menus. And so I ended up, I didn't have enough time to buy a cartridge of Fantasy Zone Online, because I did want to eventually add the physical cartridge to my collection. Because I'm not but I could not, there's no way I could guarantee that the game cartridge would arrive to my house in time for the stream today. So I went and flashed my Mega SG with the Smoke Monster firmware, so that that lets me load in ROM files through the SD card that was intended for flashing with firmware updates. So now I do have the ability to play ROMs on my Mega SG. I'd rather play physical cartridges. But it was just a pinch so I could have a version of the game I could play without using a PC. And, because I don't have a dual monitor set up, and I like to have my broadcast software on full screen, and I don't really have any controllers that would work with any emulators right now on my PC, so I just... so I wanted to... Playing with the analog Mega SG was ideal. With the Smoke Monster firmware, doggone, the Smoke Monster firmware allows me to play all the systems that the analog Mega SG can play through cartridge adapters. So Genesis ROMs, Master System ROMs, SG-1000 ROMs, Sega MyCard ROM files, but also they added ColecoVision. They added a core for ColecoVision. Because the SG-1000 was basically just a ColecoVision to begin with, as I understand. It was like so they just threw in ColecoVision compatibility. Just because like the SG-1000 was so close to being a ColecoVision in the first place that they could just add the core with no extra effort. Yeah, so generally I'm going to prefer to use an official version of the game, be it either an official digital version or a physical cartridge. But for games that are really rare or expensive to get the cartridges for, or for unique ROM hacks, like for instance, like next week I'll be going every few months. You know, I like to do I haven't done one yet this year. I like to do an exhibition stream of Sonic on Game Gear and Master System. I'll play through both versions start to finish. Try to do 100% runs for both. And, there we go. Gotcha. Yeah, so, that's what I was getting at. So next week I'm going to do my first exhibition run of 8-Bit Sonic of 2021. And someone did a ROM hack of Sonic the Hedgehog for Master System, where they added compatibility for the Sega Merc 3, which is the Japanese equivalent of the Master System. It had an add-on for what was called FM sound modulation, well, FM sound, and which added an FM sound chip synthesizer for enhanced music and compatible games like Fantasy Star, rather, not Fantasy Zone. This is Fantasy Zone. And this game isn't compatible with the FM module. But, because the 8-bit version of Sonic the Hedgehog was only released in Japan as the Game Gear version, they never released a Mark III version of Sonic the Hedgehog to be a Japanese counterpart to the European and North American and Brazilian Master System release. So because of that, I guess they never bothered to add the FM sound into the 8-bit version of Sonic the Hedgehog. So someone made an FM sound version of Sonic the Hedgehog and released the ROM of it. And so there are reproduction cartridges you can get of the FM sound version, the FM hack for Sonic the Hedgehog on Master System, but they're kind of expensive. But this way I could play, next week I could play the FM sound version of the game without having to get a reproduction cartridge. So I'm really excited. I'm gonna play the Game Gear version, then I'm gonna play the Master System version with the FM sound modified into it. Yeah, so last week I played the arcade version of this game. Earlier in the stream we were playing Stinger, which was a very, very difficult game to the point where by the third level, from the third level onwards, I was essentially playing the entire game. I was basically playing frame by frame using the Wii U Virtual Console's restore point feature. And that game was way too difficult. I'm probably not even going to be going back to that. Yeah. What gamepad am I using? I'm using the Genesis 3-button controller. I was gonna say the original controller, but I think the original version of this controller actually had red lettering for the A, B, and C, and as well as on the D shield. I do have a Master System gamepad that I could have used, and I wish I could use it, and I could use it, but the thing about the Master System pad is that it has no start button for the pause feature, and the Analog Mega SG does not have a with the original Master System, the pause button was on the console itself. And so for streaming right now, I could not have paused the game like I did just now, because actually, I just considered this. I could use the... Hold on, Start C. Okay. Wait, how do I cancel out of, wait, back? Okay, I restarted the game. Once I figure out how to, so okay, well, this is actually a good chance to show off the Smoke Monster firmware. Basically, it just adds this cores section to the game. And so cores, I'll give a sneak preview of next week's stream. So this is what it sounds like with FM sound. And that's the original actual sound that shipped with. And the mod gives it, actually almost better than Genesis quality sound, pretty much. On the main menu, you can press start to toggle between regular mode and FM mode. But we're just going to... So when you pause, you still get the analog logo. So next week I'm going to play the Game Gear version from the original, my actual Game Gear cartridge. Phantasy Star is a game that supports the FM sound. I don't have a 6-button controller, and I frankly don't think I'm going to be playing any games that use the 6-button controller. So we're going to run cores and SMS/SG-1000, and there's ColecoVision core there. And we just pull up Fantasy Zone, and we're good to go. I think there are a few, but I'm not interested in any of them. It's mostly kind of the games from, like, 92 or 93. I think it was, like, 93 the 6-button controller came out. It kind of launched, if I remember correctly, the 6-button controller. I remember this from game magazines at the time, because originally Street Fighter 2 on the home consoles in North America was a Super Nintendo exclusive, and Super Nintendo had the shoulder buttons and the ABXY buttons, whereas Genesis only had 3 face buttons. And I know a lot of people were asking, how are you going to play Street Fighter using only 3 buttons? And the solution was the 6-button controller. And I believe the 6-button controller, I don't know if it was made for... I don't know if that was made for the Genesis. I mean, for Street Fighter 2 specifically. But I know it was they kind of came out congruently or close to each other. And I know Street Fighter 2 on Genesis is enhanced for the 6-button controller. Like, I have the Genesis, the M2 version, Genesis Classic Edition. Like, not the dumb, like, AtGames garbage consoles. I mean, and AtGames, they did good consoles for the ColecoVision and Intellivision. But when it comes to the Genesis, they were making all these bad Genesis systems. And then when they initially announced, like, the NES Classic, the Genesis Classic Edition, that was meant to be the the AtGame system was really cheap. And the Genesis Classic Edition was, like, the high-end one was going to be one that could go toe-to-toe with the NES and Super NES Classic Editions. A lot of people were very upset, me included, when they announced that AtGames would be doing it. And the outcry was so much that they actually revoked the contract from AtGames and had M2, I believe, do it. The same team that does the emulation for the Genesis games that have appeared on modern systems like the Switch. Alright, there we go, there we go. Do I have any desire in getting an N64? I have an N64, it's just not modded or anything. When it gets to a point where, I heard there was some kind of aftermarket Super Nintendo HDMI native solution, but I heard that reviews on it were not very good. So once Genesis, once N64, aftermarket consoles improve a bit, I'll probably get an N64 and stream some N64 games. But if it just so happens that I just want to play an N64 game that's not available through any virtual console or other type of services, I will use PC emulation. I just don't have a way to do multi-monitors with my streaming PC. And I do like having my broadcast software on full screen. Because you've seen my setup where I have my monitor, my gaming monitor in front of me, and then I have my broadcast software in full screen on my PC that's to my left that I'm looking towards now. Oh, really? The N64 to HDMI cable for Hyperkin is good, because it's funny, because I'm a little skeptical, because I have the Hyperkin. I just use the S-Video and convert to HDMI. Because I also got, in my rush to try to figure out a way to work my, an alternative to working my Wii with my monitor, I got the Hyperkin Wii to HDMI cable, and plugged it into my Wii, and had the same problem where my Wii channel menu would come up, but the actual games, like this, the Wii would fall asleep. So, I know Hyperkin had a good reputation, so I was surprised I had that problem. But really, the Hyperkin cable for N64 is an acceptable solution. If that's the case, I can't wait to play some Mischief Makers. But I will, long-term, be playing, so next week, I've got, this 8-bit Sonic, 8-bit, Sonic the Hedgehog on Master System, the FM hack of Sonic on Master System, and the Game Gear version of Sonic 1. Then the following week after that, I'll be back to Paper Mario. Possibly during the back half of during my Paper Mario run, which I'll be playing through the back half of the game. I probably won't take as many streams as the first, my first experience, like the first half of Paper Mario, because they're only streaming like 2 or 3 hours at a time. Whereas now, I could stream for like 4 hours when I have my backrest, and my backrest actually basically just died on stream about an hour and a half ago, so the stream's probably going to be only, like, I started with only an hour for Phantasy Zone instead of the 2 hours I would have normally wanted, because I don't have the massaging backrest, so I'm going to have to go to the mall right after the stream and get a second backrest, and get a replacement one from the mall. Hopefully, like Bed Bath & Beyond, or Sharper Image, or someplace like that has a good massaging heated backrest. But, possibly during the Sonic the Hedgehog, during this back half of the Paper Mario stream, which will be the week after next. So next Wednesday will be Sonic. Next Wednesday at noon will be Sonic the Hedgehog 8-bit. Then, so the 2 Wednesdays from now, so 2 weeks from now, it'll be going back, we'll start again with the second half of the Paper Mario playthrough, the Wheel of Fate challenge, as I came to call it. And when that happens, probably if Analog is able to ship the Analog Pocket when they do, I'm going to be doing 1 or 2 probably Game Boy variety streams where I might play Super Mario Land for an hour, then Tetris for like an hour, just to put the Analog Pocket through its paces. And if I get the Analog Pocket, I do want, because I pre-ordered the dock for it. Now, it's possible that the shipment of the Analog Pocket might get delayed, but when the Analog Pocket, when I get that, that's the point where I'm going to dedicate to getting a second webcam, so I can have a console cam. And instead of the game box, at least for the Analog Pocket streams, instead of the game box, I'm gonna have the second camera on my Analog Pocket, just to show that I'm using the system. Like, because I love that I'm able to play Master System, and Genesis, and eventually Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and other handheld games, you play the original cartridge via FPGA. So I do want to have my console as part of my stream layout. But if the analog ships to my house before the before the Paper Mario setup is done, I'll take a break and do maybe just one or two, maybe even just one is all it'll need. Streams just to put the analog system through its paces. In fact, I might even do an additional stream in addition to the Paper Mario streams, because when the Analog Pocket comes, I'm gonna want to. I know a lot of people are going to be interested in seeing what the results, what kind of performance it can provide, what the games are going to look like. So I do want to have that. As soon as I hear that the systems are shipping out, I'm going to go and get my second webcam for the console cam and do a layout so I could do a stream as soon as the day the console arrives. I'm gonna do a variety stream on it. The day I say the day it arrives. I mean, if I don't have, I'll probably have appointments in work lined up that I'll be responsible for by then. But as soon as I'm available. Do you remember when the Virtual Boy came out in the 90s and how you received it back then? Oh, hold on. I did go to the Wii. I set it to 480p. I still had problems where it only display the menus. Yeah, the Hyperkin cable for your Xbox, PS2, and N64. PS2 one is garbage. I would never recommend it. Xbox and N64 one are awesome. You're happy with those results. You were playing Mischief Makers yesterday. I don't know. You couldn't get into it. I'm curious. Was it the puzzle-like stages that were jamming you up with Mischief Makers? Because a lot of it's just kind of regular platforming, but every once in a while there's some pretty deep puzzling in those stages that could really sort of gum up the pace if you're into the more action-oriented stages. Oh, you didn't like the controls? I did not. I remember when the Virtual Boy came out. Just the idea that, I mean, we're going into like the N64. Did you get past Clan Ball Land? Because I think Clan Ball Land is the first major puzzle stage in the game. And I have not played Mischief Makers for a moment since... I have not played Mischief Makers since 2002 at the absolute latest, if not maybe 2001. Let me get out, if you look up Gana Wii HDMI adapter, G-A-N-A, Gana, no. That's the HDMI adapter I was using, and it only let me view it only let me play the menus. It never let me view the actual games. As soon as I'd open up a game, the system would fall asleep. It was the weirdest thing. I feel like this... I feel like this is a little harder. I feel like this plays a little faster than the arcade version. Because I feel like I was more able to more consistently get to... Oh, I thought I'd have a few more... I thought I'd have a couple more frames to get those shots in. Yeah, in this version, like, the bases just instantly explode. In the arcade, they, like, blew up, and then they sputtered down to the ground, and you saw the wreckage on the ground. Which made you feel kind of bad for them. But here, they just disappear instantly. Alright. Oh yeah, definitely an improvement in the speed performance. And I really do wish, because the first time I played this, I knew about Fantasy Zone, I didn't know how it worked. So I really was scrolling through this level infinitely. Because I shot the pink things a few times and I just thought they weren't taking any damage. Because it's not like sparks were flying out, and the sound it made when I hit them... Man, it was really embarrassing. I'm just gonna go ahead and reset. It really did make me feel as though I was able... I thought those were just invincible enemies that existed just to launch other enemies. And so I was scrolling through the same screen infinitely for up to about 10 minutes at one point, thinking that this was just a really long stage, and it was like Life Force or Zero Wing, where it's a point A to point B thing, and not where you had a specific objective you had to clear before you could advance to the boss. Alright. Yeah. Yeah, this is... I mean, there's, like, Fantasy Zone 2, I believe, is a Master System exclusive. But for Fantasy Zone, I definitely would prefer the arcade version of this. But that was the whole purpose of playing, you know, Twinbee and Fantasy Zone arcade, and then playing the home console sequel to Twinbee on NES, and then the Master System version of Fantasy Zone. Like, you know, back to back each, you know, arcade versions one week, and then... That was scary. Thought they were gonna get me. Man, the coins really... I think the coins seem to stay on screen a longer time in this version than in the arcade version. But everything else is definitely a lot harder. Yeah, and because I believe the Master System Fantasy Zone 2 game isn't a adaptation of any other game, so if a game has more of its own identity and I don't have an arcade version to compare it to, perhaps I'll have a more favorable opinion of it. This is definitely a good game, though. It just really pales compared to the arcade version. Whereas the Master System arcade, I think Fantasy Zone 2 is going to be more of a more unique game that I don't... It's going to stand on its own more so, and not have the arcade version to compare it to. Were you here for last week's stream? I forgot, Serial Wars. Excuse me. Were you here for last week? And it just... Yeah, were you here last week for the stream, or did you watch the VOD of last week's stream? I'm just basically just asking, did you see last week's... You don't remember? Alright. Last week's... because I didn't... I want to explain... this is Opa Opa. This is a screenshot from Super Fantasy Zone on the Mega Drive. And this is our character. This is Opa Opa. And he's actually... I'm not a pilot in a spaceship. I am a living spaceship in this game. And he has little legs, he has little shoes on, and he has wings. And he has parents that actually play into the plot of later games, I believe. Like his father is a major character in this series, I know. I don't know how, in what capacity. And Super Fantasy Zone, I've seen the opening screenshots of the opening cinematic, which this is from. And Super Fantasy Zone, there's actually like larger spaceships that these living ships go into. And they're not anthropomorphized anyway, aside from having the legs and the wings. Like, it's not like a little facial expressions appear on the visor, on the cockpit or anything. These are just a race of living spaceships. And Opa Opa's a spaceship because his parents are spaceships. That's just all you have to worry about. But in that game, you actually see when these ships travel from planet to planet, they actually get inside a larger, I guess, non-sapient spaceship as a vehicle. So it's kind of... So when you go in the shop here, the big wings, these are things he's actually, like, adding to his body. Extra ship. And I'm guessing for storyline purposes, since this is a living creature, this ship, I'm guessing the extra ship, it'd be taken in universe as a... I guess you could say, like, some kind of special device that reassembles the Opa Opa after he gets damaged. So it's not that, like, it's an actual different ship than the one you were flying as. It's just that it's a special, very expensive device that reassembles him if he gets blown up. Yeah, all the characters in this are living machines. Is it time-consuming to shampoo my dreadlocks? I mean, it's... Like, I don't... Like, you don't have to shampoo them all the time. Like, I gotta shampoo it every once in a while. And general, like, you could just water is enough. And you don't even have to... You don't have to do that all the time, either. What I use is Dr. Bonner's. If you look up Dr. Bonner's liquid soap, you can see what it is. It's the soap that has all the tiny little, like, religious and conspiracy theory writing, like, all over it. It's that soap, and it's really good soap. And, it's not even actual, like, purpose-made shampoo. It's just really good, you know, all-natural, soap that I use on my hair. And, yeah, and it's not really that time-consuming. Like, when it's time to, like, to twist, when I have, like, enough growth, that it's time to, you know, retwist them down to the roots to incorporate all the new growth beneath it into the locks, then that takes a number of hours. That's basically an all-day thing. But, and for that, I used to keep it on my desk a lot, even though I don't use them that often. But basically, it's a big needle, and I just put it through the end, and then you just sort of run it through all the fluff that grows in beneath the lock. Now, there are many ways to care for locks, and that's just the way I've always done it. That's the way my parents have done it since I was a little kid, so that's the way we still do it. Now, I've never actually, I've always, like the last time I got my hair done, my dad was in town and he came over and did my hair. But I've never actually twisted all 100% by myself. I'd either have to make a little pilgrimage to, you know, to my dad's place, or when he came over or whatever to get my hair done. But, which only do like maybe 4, maximum 5 times in an entire year. Like, I got it done back in January. Maybe at the end, towards the end of April, I might do it again. But I do intend to give a shot at doing it all by myself for the first time. Because it's not the easiest thing to do for yourself. But, it could take, like, when my dad would do it, it would take him, like, 3 or 4 hours if it wasn't a whole lot of growth. 4 or 5 hours, maybe. Like, non-stop, and that's with him doing it and being able to easily fully access and see everything, whereas a person could do it by themselves. It just takes even longer. I've flirted with possibly doing a stream where I have some public domain cartoons or something like that going while I do my own hair. Like, I'll do it myself off-stream, and if it works good, the next time I'll do it. The next time I do it, I'll have some public domain stuff going on and have a comfy stream, like, and just have that going all day while I do my hair. I don't cut them in terms of length. Like this is all the growth since the early 90s right here. So I don't cut them. I just I don't cut them. I just grow in more. Well, I just just twist it as more grows in. Or else I just have a little fro with braids on the end. Yeah, I feel like it's a lot easier to grab a lot more money a lot faster in this version compared to the arcade version. Yeah, so I'll try it myself off stream, and then, like, so we're talking like a month or 2 from now. So then, like, 4 or 5 months after that, when it's time to do it again, if it goes well the first time and I feel confident in doing it all by myself, then next time I do it, I'll stream it and just have some public domain cartoons or something going on. So cool to think. Oh, Yeah, I guess the N64 era length might be about up here at this point. It might be, like, pretty much, like, up here. This might be N64 era. I mean, I can look at old photos of myself and measure, like, I have a lot of photos of myself in the pre-digital camera era. But even, like, since 2006, even since 2006, you can, I could see, like, a lot of my, notice how much my hair has grown since then. And it's because it's not something I think of. So when I do realize, like, oh, wow, it's, you know, my hair's a lot longer than it used to be, it's kind of weird thinking of it that way. Because and plus, like, people saying, wow, your hair's really long. People have been saying that since, like, since before I actually got the locks. Because at first I just had a fro, or, like, when I was, like, a toddler, I had just short hair and a little ponytail on the back. And that ponytail was actually incorporated into one of these, back here somewhere, one of these ones in the back was my original ponytail. I'll see how I feel when it gets that long. I'm probably just going to just tie it up and bind it up when it gets that long. Yeah. Yeah, we have not beaten the, like, yeah, I think this is tougher than the arcade version, because the arcade version, we got into the third stage several times, whereas here we only got to the second boss once so far, and we've been playing the better part of an hour. I will go back to this version. I will be going back to this version of Fantasy Zone eventually, but I'd probably sooner go back to the arcade version, frankly. Alright. Yeah, let's not even bother with the shop. Let's, And I do believe that the shop doesn't appear until you destroy, at least in this version, I don't think the shop appears until you destroy at least one base. Because when I was playing this and thinking it was a point A to point B shooter, where you just kept scrolling to the right and eventually you would reach a boss at the end of the stage. When I was playing it, not realizing that it was looping, I don't think the shop ever appeared, so I didn't realize the shop was even in the game. So I think it's set up so that you can't access the shop, like that the balloon doesn't appear until you get at least one base destroyed. Well, like, the thickness of the locks depends on the method in which it's twisted. There are different ways that they can be twisted. So if you see someone with, like, really frizzy locks, or, like, with really big, thick braids, that's not a sign of a lack of maintenance. It's just a different way that it was maintained. Alright. Oh man, I almost got him. But I lost. And that's one, and that's one of the, I guess, the challenges people who have locks go through, is that, like, sometimes people get the impression, or just the reputation, that locks are just show an inherent, are just like a lack of maintenance, or a lack of hygiene, or whereas it actually takes a lot of work to do this. I mean, I don't have to wake up every morning and worry about braiding it, or twisting it, or combing it, or anything, but there's still a lot of work that goes into maintaining this. People praise them a lot, and overwhelmingly, the people who have a problem with it don't say anything. So, either they won't say anything, or they'll just pretend they don't care, or that it's something else. Like when I went to, where I used to live, there was this bookstore I was going to for years, and I was with my mom. This is like right before I got my driver's license, or it might have been right after I got my driver's license. You saw a Caucasian guy with blonde hair sporting locks? Yeah, there are different ways, like different hair textures have different ways of achieving a similar effect. So I don't know, like, what the process is for doing stuff, for that kind of stuff. I could just, you know... So I could only talk about my own experience, but it was like this bookstore. Yeah, it was this bookstore that it was actually the bookstore that I went to for the Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows midnight launch, which is actually the only Harry Potter book I did the midnight launch for, because it's the only book, like, Deathly Hallows was the only book in the series to come out after I actually started caring about reading the Harry Potter books. And I'm not going to do a whole thing about, you know, my history with the Harry Potter books and movies. But basically, so it's a bookstore I was a regular of. And one day, we were nearby in, like, this bookstore, and I saw the owner put out a sandwich board. You know, those boards that's, like, those self-writing, like, a board out front. A huge board that said, "Now hiring." So I was like, oh, wow, oh, wow, awesome. Like, because I was looking for my first job, because as soon as I left high school, I was really eager to get it, like, just any kind of 9 to 5. Even though my parents, you know, I didn't have to pay rent, my parents, you know, my parents were paying my parents paid my insurance up until I actually got my first job, which was very generous of them. And I had a pre-owned car from my grandmother, so I didn't have to make payments on it or anything. I just had to pay the insurance. But and I didn't even have to pay that at the time, because my parents were paying my insurance until I got my own job. But pretty much, as soon as I left high school, I was eager to get any simple part-time retail job, so I could get enough money to go to England and see some steam trains, which I didn't end up doing until 2015. But so I was like, oh wow, like a bookstore, and they're hiring. You know, I'm an English major. I love books. I love the store. Let me go and apply. So I see the guy put out the "now hiring" sign. So I go out. I go into the place. And I'm like, oh yeah, I heard you're hiring. He's like, oh sorry, all the positions are filled, and I just forgot to take the sign down, is what he said. So I'm like, okay, that's suspicious, because, like, I didn't say this to him, but I just saw him put the "now hiring" sign out. So I talk to my friend from high school, who was, like, a cashier at the bookstore. And I was like, oh, I heard you're so I heard you're hiring? He's like, oh yeah, we're hiring. We need all the help we can get. So unfortunately, the bookstore owner looked at me and decided that I didn't look like a person that would be a good fit for his store for whatever reason. So, and I could tell a few more stories like that. And it also, what probably made it even worse, if it wasn't just that he was just prejudiced because of, like, my skin color, I also wore I wore dark glasses at all times back then. There was a special prescription for light sensitivity, and it really wasn't light sensitivity so much as I was just having complex migraines that had, like, stroke-like symptoms to them, where I didn't need to go to the hospital, but people would think I was having a stroke, where I, like, couldn't even speak straight or anything. So, and throughout high school, I had a lot of trouble with this, too, where security guards would yell at me or pull me, like, literally grab me by the back of my shirt and tell me to take my sunglasses off, because I thought they were sunglasses. And I have to explain, like, oh, they're not sunglasses and whatever. So, with the way like, my skin color, the hair, and the dark glasses, I had a lot going against me at the time, and I actually, later in life, I was able to, like, by, like, 2011 or so, yeah, I think it was 2011, I was actually able to, in 2010 sometime, I was like, okay, if I can go a year without having a complex migraine, I'm gonna stop wearing my glasses and see if I do alright. And a year went by, and I did stop wearing my glasses, and I've been alright for the most part ever since then. But I was not able to get a retail job until I stopped wearing my glasses, even when I explained. You know, no one's ever said, like, we're not hiring you because you're wearing glasses, but I was not able to get a retail job until I was wearing glasses. And then the job I did get, it was at a dollar store. And what I think, I went to the store, and I got a polo shirt that was the same color as the uniform that they wore at the dollar store. And that's when because, like, there was a new branch of the dollar store that was opening, and there was another branch of the dollar store was, like, having now hiring, and I was like, they're probably trying to hire and train people here for the new store they're opening. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go get a polo shirt that's the same color as the uniforms they wear here, and I didn't realize till after the fact that you actually, like, had to buy your own uniform anyway, so I was able to wear that shirt when I actually got the job. So I got that shirt, then went for the interview. And I don't know if it was because I had this shirt, the same color shirt that you actually have to wear when you work there, but I got the job, and, like, the person giving the interview, who was the manager of the store, was like, oh yeah, just, you know, because you're gonna have a name tag that will be hanging off your lapel, you know, just tie your hair back so that people can see the name tag. I'm like, okay, that makes enough sense. And plus, the job I was doing, I was, you know, a stock clerk, and I was climbing behind fixtures a lot and, you know, working a lot. It was just a lot more convenient and practical to have my hair tied back for that job anyway. But she was like, it was specifically because, you know, you have to see the, you know, the name tag, so that's why she wanted me to tie my hair back. But then I actually started working. There were other people who had long hair that were not asked to tie their hair back. So, like, you gotta wonder. And it's like, I guess, and I had people comment, and they don't even really put any thought, they didn't even mean anything by it, but just that, like, I've had, times when I just happen to want to tie my hair back or whatever, where they say, like, oh, you look so professional, oh, you look so well kept, and they don't realize, like, you're kind of implying that having my hair visible implies that I'm not being professional or not being well groomed or kept, and so that's probably why I was actually asked to tie my hair back, and she probably didn't even really consider that. But that dollar store had problems anyway. There's a reason all that stuff there cost $1, so glad I left. Yeah, that place was a mess. Okay. Alright. Man, this version plays so much faster than the arcade version. Let's see if we can at least beat the second boss once this stream. Because we got to at least to the we got to like the third level. We got to the third level boss last time, if not the fourth level. I think we got to the fourth level at least once last stream. And we didn't get any further. So this time, okay. Alright. Alright. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you should get more points for defeating enemies with the bombs, because the bombs they're more powerful, but they're a lot trickier to use. Well, it makes sense that the bombs are tricky. Let's buy some advanced bombs and see what they shoot like. Oh, I did not mean to do that. Oh. Did I only get one bomb? Because I already wasted 2 by accident, and on this controller, B is to shoot bullets, and A is for bombs. And remember, this is a Genesis, this is a Sega controller, where A is to the left of B? Okay, I lost a shot, so now I lost the bombs. On Nintendo, the B is to the left and A is to the right, because the idea is that A is the primary button, and then B is a secondary button. But here, it seems like often A, B, and C, a lot of the Genesis games I've played, A, B, and C all do the same thing. Because I've really only played Sonic the Hedgehog. Really, the Sonic the Hedgehog games are really the only Genesis games I've actually honestly ever played. At least since I started retro gaming. You know, like playing games now on older services and stuff like that. Well, I mean, I have all this growth there. But, like, eventually, it's gonna probably happen later in life, but it's just that my dad always shaved his... Since he went to the Navy, he always shaved his head anyway. But I just the genes I've got... still got on my hair. Eventually, I'm gonna start losing stuff, and, you know, when I get older, and if I... You know, when I get to that age, I'm probably not... it's easy for me to say now, when I get that old, I'm not gonna really fight it. I'm just gonna go ahead and buzz it and just wear it short, but... That's easy for me to say now when I have a full head of hair, but, I don't know, I might have lost a few millimeters off my hairline on my forehead. I don't have to compare pictures, and plus, in the pictures, I can't exactly be sure whether or not I just happen to have gotten an edge up at that point. Because I've never done my own edge ups. Like, my dad, like, when I see him and he does my hair, he usually buzzes my forehead as well. So I've never done my own edge up in the mirror. I'm scared to do that. Like, I'm gonna mess it up. My hairline looks good, but I'm pretty sure it used to be go down a few more millimeters, not even full centimeters, but I probably lost maybe a centimeter at the most over the last few years. I don't know. But I know a lot of people lose a lot more, a lot faster than I have, so I'm not like, oh, woe is me, I'm going bald. Oh, to be young and have good... I'm not doing all that. I'm not going through all that. I'm just observing how I've developed over the years, and it seems like I may have lost a few millimeters. Not even a few centimeters, just like a millimeter or two. Oh, did you see that? That was so... I was only a frame or two away from losing it there. There we go. I think you're the last base. I think this base here is the last one. Alright. All the enemies left... Oh, no, there's at least one more. And it's probably more this way than the other way. Oh, it's... Yeah, I was right. And I feel like the coins bounce a lot higher in this version, too. Come on. Yeah! I feel like I'm grabbing way more coins in this version than in the... You know, it's interesting. I wonder... I notice... So, in the arcade version, you kept the same backdrop when the boss appeared. In this version, the entire background disappears for the boss to show up on screen. I wonder if they were having problems having a large moving sprite like that and keeping the background scenery on the screen at the same time. I wonder if that's why. I wonder if that's why the backdrop fades when the boss shows up. Oh, okay. Oh, it looks like I only get one of those special bombs because I used it that one time. I think I used it twice, one of which actually hit my target. Yeah, if there was a reticule to see where the dropping... That's one good thing about Twinbee, is that there's a reticule to see where your dropped bombs are going to hit if you fire at that moment. Whereas here, there's no reticule. You really have to just judge the arc of the bombs. Alright. These look like boxing gloves with eyes and fists. Like, some of these creatures are so abstract. And some of these are obviously supposed to be ships, but oh my gosh, that was close. I like how they only maintain that formation for a moment or two. Ooh. There we go. That should be the last platform. The last boss. The last, Alright, now let's... I swear this is maybe the fourth... I'm very sure this is notably harder than it was on in the arcade. Because in the arcade, I feel like I got through this several times. Now, just for those who weren't aware, if you take off... I have this TV screen frame here. If I take that off... Where's the TV frame? Yeah. Look how much of the screen is just the loading seam. Master System games tend to have a very large loading seam, and that's why a certain amount of that would have been taken up by the way this would have displayed on an actual period television, which is why I have the frame. I use the frame often on streams that I know are going to be handheld only. It just occurred to me that I could go ahead and make the layouts for, or make the beginnings of the layout for the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance variety streams. I could go ahead and start working on that now. Oh man, I was like a pixel off. I was so close. Yeah, I had to use my... Oh man, I have such a narrow window to move in there. And that boss is the boss that's on the title screen. Because we've gotten good enough to not... We got good enough at this not to worry about losing lives until at least we get this far in, so... I mean, I only have a few more minutes left to stream. Oh. Alright. Give me some... These bullet patterns are random. Because there's sometimes where it's just so focused that there's no way I can... It's very difficult. So I have to shoot those little orbiting, I almost called them orbitars, like in Kid Icarus Uprising. I feel like this boss had a bigger... I feel like these had a bigger hitbox in the arcade, really. Oh my goodness. I feel like in other playthroughs, the guy started moving... Once he starts moving around... And also, I just noticed this, and it's such a natural thing that I didn't even notice when it happened. I know some bosses in Mega Man go into like one-on-one shooter mode where Mega Man will always face and shoot in the same direction, no matter how your character moves. Because during the stage, I just noticed this now. It's such a smooth gameplay feature that I didn't even... Oh man, I moved too soon there, and that should be game over. Alright. That's probably not going to get too much further. But, alright. Let's see if we can get... Let's do a speed run. Let's see if we can at least get to the boss, if not beat them by the end of the stream in 1 minute and 30 seconds from now. Alright. Oh. Yeah, I feel like the bases are more susceptible to bomb fire here. Whereas this one's high up, so I can't really drop bombs on this one. Yeah, if there was one version I wanted to really get a feel for and master so that I could beat it, it would probably be the arcade version. Rather than this Master System version. Yeah, I wonder if you... Where's the last bit? There's a base hit hiding somewhere. Where is it? Oh, okay, I was just waiting for the stage to appear, the boss to appear. Oh wow, I was kidding kind of when I said let's beat stage 1 one more time before oh. I was on the way to doing it, but no way it's gonna happen now that I took that L. Let's beat this boss, and then that'll be it for today. Oh, come on. Alright. Hey, and even though we're not gonna play the rest of the game, you gotta grab the money, right? This is all about recovering the stolen foreign currency. Alright. So, that's gonna be it for today. From last week and this week and the next couple of weeks, I've been able to eke out a little space so I can consistently stream Wednesday at noon. I can't promise it's going to stay, Wednesday at noon thing, but that's when my scheduling and work and appointments have allowed so far. And I was able to schedule a little further ahead. In April, I may, we'll see. In my professional and leisure life, I'm reconsidering a lot of options and changes. But for next week, we'll be playing the 8-bit versions of Sonic the Hedgehog on Master System and Game Gear. Usually next week I'm actually going to play the Game Gear version first, then Master System. Usually I play Game Gear first, then Master System. This week I'm going to play Master System... No. Yeah, next week I'm going to play Game Gear first, then Master System. Usually it's the home console version first, then the handheld version. And as you can see, with Sonic the Hedgehog, the Master System version of Sonic the Hedgehog, I'll be playing with the Yamaha FM sound mod. So I'll be playing it with sound, like this 8-bit Sega game. I'm going to be playing it with sound quality better than that of the 16-bit Sega Genesis, which is going to be very interesting. Thanks for everyone who joined me. We beat Stinger. Beat. You could put that in big quotation marks with a big, huge asterisk. Yeah, I beat it by abusing the save state system, but that game was entirely too hard. Twinbee, I would say Twinbee on the arcade is an easier and fairer game than the NES version, and I only got to level 3 of the arcade version without save states. I couldn't have even beaten level 2 without save states on the NES. For Fantasy Zone, the arcade version is definitely superior. This is a good conversion of the game, though. I'm interested in playing the Master System only games in the Fantasy Zone series, but that'll be in the future. So next week it'll be the Analog Mega SG's time to shine. So I won't be using the Switch or my Wii U for the first time in a while. And then, so next Wednesday, we got Sonic on Game Gear and Master System. The Wednesday after that, it'll be back to Paper Mario, which I will stick with until I either beat the game, or if the Analog Pocket ships while I'm still going through the Paper Mario playthrough, in which case I will either do for my stream of the week, I will either replace Paper Mario with Analog Pocket Showcase stream, or just add an additional stream where I put the Analog Pocket through its paces in addition to the Paper Mario stream. But that's going to be it for today, so I'll see you a week from now at noon Eastern Standard Time, and thank you very much for watching.